Welcome to a special meeting of the Indian Wells City Council. Meetings held in the City Hall Council Chamber are streamed live. You can watch the meeting on any device or computer. Members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may access the live stream during the regular meeting. Public comments. Members of the public who wish to speak should fill out a blue slip and submit it to the city clerk, who's sitting right there in front. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. In accordance with state law, remarks during public comment are to be limited to subjects within the city's jurisdiction. If you are unable to provide comments during the meeting, written comments on the agenda or non-agenda items or both may be submitted at cityclerk@indianwells.com an hour prior to the start of the meeting. If you are an individual with a disability and need a reasonable modification or accommodation pursuant to the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact the city clerk at 760-346-2489 48 hours prior to the meeting. Please turn off your phones so we don't get a phone call in the middle of the meeting. All documents for public review are available for public inspection at City Hall Reception, 44-950 Eldorado Drive, Indian Wells, during normal business hours. Dr. Carroll, will you convene the council meeting by leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just everybody's information. Our council member Reed will be a little late today. He has a medical appointment. I assume that there is a consensus amongst the council that that's okay. Correct? Yes. Any exceptions? Absolutely. All right. So in that sense, Madam Clerk, will you give us a roll call?
Councilmember Sanders.
Present.
Councilmember Penna.
Present.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Whitman.
Here.
Do we need to do a motion for the meeting?
No, we can do a consensus without objection. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the vote is 4-0. The next item is proclamations and presentations. C1, Riverside County Fire Department quarterly update by Battalion Chief Matt Potts. Matt? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, City staff. My name is Matthew Coates, CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Battalion Chief for the City of Indian Wells. I'm here with a year-end review for the Fire Department. So within my presentation, I'll be talking about Fire Department calls for service from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. A comparison of calls from the previous year. Significant fire department events in the City of Indian Wells. So for the year, we had a total of 1,399 calls to service. 952 of those, or 68% of the calls that we ran, were medical based. 188 were false alarms. 125 were public service assists. 87 traffic collisions. And for a comparison from the previous period, that's an increase of 4%, approximately 4%. Here's a diagram of the calls for service that the fire department responded to within the city limits. So the fire department calls for service in the city of at our hotels. I didn't have the data when I submitted my report, but I have that now. At the Grand Hyatt, we had 46 calls. At the Renaissance Esmeralda, we had 49. Tommy Bahamas had 25. And the Indian Wells Resort had 15. So significant events that occurred for the fire department in Indian Wells. We staffed La Quinta to Indian Wells Ironman. We had a total of 3 calls for service, 2 transports within the city side of the event. That was we had fewer calls this year than we had the previous year. Fire responded to 10 calls for service at the BNP Paribas tennis tournament. Again, that was lower number of calls than the previous year. Gerald Ford Elementary Fire Department mini muster was canceled due to heat because of the school district has new heat guidelines for their students. So we had to cancel that, and we're in the process of restructuring with the in accordance with the principals to have the outside portion of the mini muster occur in March, and then we'll have an assembly in October, so we don't have those issues going forward. Incident response. We did have a structure fire. We responded to a structure fire on Montecito Drive just a couple weeks ago. It ended up being a vehicle fire in the garage, which we contained the fire to the garage itself. Occupants were not home upon our arrival.
Was it about
Vehicle fire in the garage.
battery or?
I wasn't the inspecting officer, so I'd have to refer you to the report.
Okay, let's turn off those phones. Turn off Mark. Thank you.
Significant accomplishments for the fire department throughout the year. I have an update on the Indian Wells ambulance that we're going to remount. We're going to send that back in September. It was approved through city staff, working with city staff for the remount, and then also new improved gurney equipment for the ambulance as well. So you'll see that on the streets probably December-ish. The city ISO rating, as you are aware, improved from a 3 to a 2. That's a huge accomplishment. Fire Department Emergency Command Center accreditation. So a little bit about that. I think Chief Beverland discussed it, but some of the high points with that, just a small group of our command centers, our emergency command centers throughout the nation are accredited. Allows the command center staff to perform EMD or emergency medical dispatching. So it assists with getting our units on the road as quickly as possible. We're able to do some quality control within the command center to improve our functions and our dispatching. And then dispatching adjustments to send the appropriate level of response to the appropriate call. So that means that we're able to just send an ambulance to a medical facility like our care facilities instead of sending a fire engine and an ambulance. So that keeps our fire engine available and can respond to calls or additional calls or even fires within the city. With that, that's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Let's see. So, just for everybody's education too, in the audience, the fire service is also the ambulatory service. So, those incidents are what an ambulance shows up to. False alarms. When I spent the day with your team, there were a number of false alarms caused by Apple Watches that people accidentally hit or turned their wrist in such a way that you weren't called. Showed up and no one was there. Is this a common occurrence? And is there anything that you know in the works from a policy perspective to protect against that, so you're not taken offline for a false call?
It is a challenge for us. We have to treat every call as an emergency until we can determine otherwise. They try their best in the command center by asking appropriate questions. If they're able to get a hold of the person that activated the notification. If they're able to get a hold of them and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was a false activation," then we could stand down. Until then, we have to respond and determine that it is a false alarm. So it's really in the best of the possible incapacitated patient or person to make sure that they are okay.
And then, so I would assume that false alarms are covered that particular category when stated was.
Yes. Yeah, false alarms could cover that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
On the issue of false alarms, I'm not sure technologically whether anything can be done, but we can certainly take it up with the Public Safety Committee and maybe get an email out to all the residents. Just ask them to be careful. They're out there watching.
It's Apple Watches, and it could be alarm systems at the home that we respond to as well. If we get an activation for an alarm, whether it's a windy day or maybe even a dusty day, or maybe they're even doing construction at their residence, we do respond out until we determine that it's a false alarm or an actual fire or whatnot.
Let me just say something about the paramedic service. Up until about 2 months ago, we had an elderly couple who lived right across the street from us. And I think it was maybe 4, 5, 6 times within a relatively short period of time, the paramedics were called for assistance. And every time they came, I made a point of complimenting the crew, the way they handle patients, the way they talk to them, the way they assure them, very, very professional. And I just want to commend the fire service for that service that you do. You do it very well.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words, and I'll relay that to the staff.
Great.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Coates.
Alrighty, go ahead.
Our next report comes from Riverside County Sheriff, quarterly update by Special Enforcement Team Deputy Peter Prejean. Deputy Prejean.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members, staff, and members of the Indian Wells community. I'm Deputy Prejean. I'll be standing in for Lieutenant Shaloni today. We are actually going to go through, I believe, the first 6 months of the year when it comes to the stats. It's going to be this one. So, first 6 months of the year, we had over 7,600 file numbers. We had over 1,400 calls for service, 6,250 self-initiated file numbers, 35 total arrests, 9 DUI arrests, 9 public intoxication arrests, 22 warrant arrests, and proactively, we conducted 4,363 area checks. When it came to traffic collisions, the first 6 months totaled 55. There were no fatal injuries, no fatal accidents. 1 major injury, 16 minor injuries, 38 non-injuries. Traffic citations were way up. We had 1,326 in the first 6 months. And again, 9 DUI arrests. This is the breakdown of the Part 1 crimes. Part 1 crimes include homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, auto theft, and larceny. As you can see, there was a big reduction, Part 1 crimes, from 2025 to 2024, the first 6 months. One of the notable incidents that happened recently was a felony vandalism that was conducted by juveniles against the city, where I believe over 100 of the barrels were damaged, where an estimated $156,000 was caused by them. So we were able to identify them, and we did, using search warrants and other investigative tools, able to identify them, and the report was forwarded to the district attorney to pursue charges. The juveniles are in custody of CPS at this time. Traffic operations by Deputy Yu in the last 6 months. He conducted a DUI checkpoint on February 21st, 2025 that resulted in 2 DUI arrests. And on June 6th, he conducted a DUI saturation patrol where there was 1 DUI arrest. That's going to be pretty much for the stats.
How many tickets did you have?
Over 1,300, sir. So, which is a great increase from the prior year when he wasn't work in Indian Wells.
For sure.
Absolutely. So if there's any questions,
Oh, you done?
we're done.
With the juveniles with the bollards on 111,
Yes, sir.
were they identified by cameras on City Hall or?
So the cameras helped a little bit, but what really helped was kind of old-fashioned investigative work, canvassing the area, trying to find out if there were any incidents that were related. Obviously, this sort of incident doesn't happen a lot, so we figured they must have been coming from either Palm Desert or La Quinta. There was an incident earlier in the night in Palm Desert, and we were able to use that information to identify the juveniles, and then we were able to write search warrants for one of them. Had a phone. It's very prominent in the video that the city provided, and as young people are, everything's on their phone. They recorded the actual vandalism.
They're not residents of Indian Wells.
No, sir.
Not anymore. Right?
Well, no. It does not appear at any time.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
How go the PhD studies?
Not as good as I hope.
You're still,
Get a lot of kickbacks from my chair, so we'll see how it goes.
I admire that.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you.
Next, we have a legislative update, C3, from the office of Senator Bo, presented by District Representative Armando Martinez, who I see in the back. There you are. Mr. Martinez, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, city staff, community. It is an honor to stand before you to provide you a legislative update from the office of Senator Rosalicia Ochoa Bowes. And currently, Senator has 6 bills in play and 3 resolutions. Some of them are SB 221. Which supports parental access in education. Also, SB 250, expanding access to behavioral health. SB 389, streamlining public safety processes. SB 440, 673, and 745, which supports emergency preparedness, community resilience, and water reliability across our region. And I do want to say thank you for allowing us to do our town hall on May 29th. We had a great conversation with the community members. So I commend you for allowing us to do that. Senator came and heard firsthand the issues. And one of the issues that arise is the dust that is affecting the community of Indian Wells. And I know that she is very aware of this environmental hazard and the public health risk that is associated with it. So she has started conversations with Supervisor Perez, which I believe he is also part of the Salton Sea Authority, and so different stakeholders. So we are doing our homework to address this issue. So we appreciate the opportunity to communicate with the cities, with the residents to address these issues. Other issues that came along is the housing. There are different issues with that, and we are addressing those as they come. And I want to commend the city staff also because your constant input into how Senator is going to vote in different measures is important. As, for example, today a very heated legislative with AB 130. That was a really hot topic today on the Senate floor. All the bills from the Senate are currently in the Assembly, and all Assembly bills are in the Senate, ready to do some amendments. Unfortunately, AB 130 did pass. That is associated with the budget, something that we have not seen in the past. That is that bill was no part of a committee, was not heard on a committee. It just here comes with the budget. So that is something to be noted. Also, Senator is very committed to transparency, local engagement, and sustainability, and making people accountable for their actions. And also, I want to tell everybody, if I may, once again, thank you for allowing us to do the mobile office hours. We are here. I am here every every second Wednesday of the month, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. To provide assistance. And I have to tell you, I have met wonderful people. They have built ideas, and once again, grateful for your partnership. Is there any questions for me, or we'll go to address those?
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Martinez?
Congratulations on rolling back CEQA.
Yeah,
Very exciting.
Thank you.
thank you. Mr.
Thank you so much.
Next, C4, Coachella Valley Rescue Mission presentation by Development Director Scott Wolf. Mr. Wolf, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to stand before you today on behalf of the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. For 5 decades, we've been at the forefront of serving our community's most vulnerable, providing hope, healing, and a path to self-sufficiency. I know that most of you are familiar with the rescue mission. In general idea of what we do for the Valley as an organization. But, today, I just wanted to share with you the transformative impact and the outcomes of our work, the lives changed, and the difference that your support makes to the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. Over the last 12 months, our street outreach team has engaged over 1,200 unique individuals living on the streets here in the Coachella Valley, offering essentials like showers with our portable shower trailer, food, water, and hygiene supplies, and connected many of those to critical services, not just our own, other organizations in the Coachella Valley as well. On an average, our outreach team reaches about 40 individuals a day, with over 60 of those individuals in the last 12 months have actually asked us to take them off the streets, bring them back to the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission for further services, and that's a great thing. Sandra, one of the women who we've engaged, spent 13 years on the streets, found hope through our outreach team's persistent efforts to engage with her. She eventually graduated from our long-term programs last year, secured employment, and now lives in her first apartment at the age of 44 years old. Our emergency shelter provides 27,000 bed nights to over 750 unique individuals just in the last 12 months. These aren't just beds, gentlemen. These are the first steps towards stability and transitioning into independent living. Our case managers can maintain an average stay in our emergency shelter of 36 days, even though the limit of our shelter is 90 days, referring them to our housing department, our long-term programs, and other service provider partners that we partner with here in the Coachella Valley. Just as an example, John, a man who lost everything after an injury, used our shelter just to recover, get a point to where he can find a new job, rebuild his life. Today, he's thriving after securing housing and has a great support system from his community. Our long-term programs, Gateway and New Life, offer clients the skills and the tools to transition back to independent living. Last year, 150 men and women graduated, and our success rate 1 year after graduation is 82%. Our clients logged 116,000 hours of training in our job skills training programs, learning trades like food service, landscaping, retail, and most of those clients with that job skills training led to subsequent employment. Mary, one of our single mothers, earned her GED through our long-term programs, secured a job, and is now preparing to transition into her new home with the help of our housing department. One of our fastest growing groups, speaking of moms with kids, they're one of the fastest growing demographics within the homeless community. They come to CVRM for many reasons, the most common being skyrocketing living costs, abuse, and abandonment. Our family shelter is a haven for many, providing the safety and security needed for mothers and their children to have a new beginning. This year, we've been able to double our service capacity for moms with kids with the opening of our new family shelter expansion. And it's added, we're going to start adding 42 new beds with that building, with a possible extension up to 60 beds. Some of the other things that the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission really engages with the community with is our meal service, not just our clients, but we served over 325,000 meals out of our kitchen in the last 12 months, ensuring everybody that comes to our kitchen for a meal gets the proper nutrition. We also distributed over 5,000 food boxes in the last 12 months to struggling families in our community that are not clients of our community, just people in our surrounding area that are food insecure and just need help. Every Wednesday, we pass out food boxes to our community as well. Our housing department not only serves our clients, but they also serve clients that are referred through the continuum of care for Riverside County. And our housing department is proud to announce in the last 12 months, 76 unique individuals went into 52 households here in the Coachella Valley. Not to mention the dozens of individuals able to secure housing on their own through our program with little or no assistance from our housing department. Nancy, one of our Gateway Program graduates, found housing with our assistance and is now thriving in her new job, ready to sustain herself long term. We provided help with move-in costs that she otherwise would not have been able to afford. Gentlemen, every one of these statistics represents a person, a life transformed. This work is only possible because of supporters like you and the other cities. When you invest in the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, you're not just funding programs, you are funding and creating futures. Sandra, John, Mary, and Nancy are just a few examples of the lives that you've touched. As we look to the future, including the family shelter expansion, we invite you to continue to partner with us in making this vision a daily reality. Together, we can ensure no one in our community is left without hope. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your generosity and your commitment to changing lives. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf, for that excellent report. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Council. Yes, we go to Taylor.
Thank you for your presentation. Having been out there and seen your new facilities, they're magnificent in scope, but also critically, of course, in service. Question for you. When you have one location, in essence, in India, but your reach is greater there. Like you talk about traveling showers and picking up, people, homeless people, communicating with them until they say, hey, can we come in? Does that service extend to the entire Coachella Valley?
Yes, doctor, it does.
How do you work with Palm Springs and their new facility or some of the other facilities?
Excellent question, doctor. The Rescue Mission Street Outreach Team consists of, we have 2 outreach trucks. We have 1 shower trailer. The shower trailer is set in Palm Springs every other Friday at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. We partner with many other service providers, including the Palm Springs Police Department, and we are giving out 30 to 40 showers a day at that particular location. The other service providers also engage with the people that come, and you're right, doctor, it's all about repetition and repeat service, being in the same time, in the same place every week. That way everybody knows, hey, if it's Friday morning, they know where to go. That gives us the ability to engage them on a regular basis and gain their trust, gain the rapport, the familiarity. So when it does come time for them to say, hey, I'm ready, we can give them a ride right back to the rescue mission. We also do this within the city of Indio with the shower trailer. We're working on a couple of other cities. It's just a little slow going because of all the permitting and permissions that we need. But we have gone as far west as Beaumont and Banning, and we go out as far east as Blythe as well.
And when you look at if you were to create a mental pie chart of where your funding comes from, what does that look like?
Most of our funding comes from the private sector. donors just like yourselves that see the great work that we do and are willing to support us financially, whether it's a monthly donation, a one-time donation, or a legacy gift like a will and an estate. There's all kinds of different ways to support the rescue mission. But then about 20 to 25% of our annual funding does come from the grant writing process as well.
So there's no annual reoccurring commitment by CVAG or the county of Riverside or whatever?
No, sir. No, sir.
And then,
Yeah, it's just year to year.
which is also incredible,
Yeah.
that you're able to recreate your balance sheet every year.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, do you interface with CVAC? Do they occasionally bring individuals to your facility?
They do on occasion. We have working relationships with a lot of members of CVAG and also the other cities. And we have an intake line and we have a process, and everybody knows all the relationships that we have, even with the quality of life officers in the different cities, the sheriff departments, the fire departments, even some of the hospitals. They basically have us on speed dial, doctor. And our intake manager for our emergency shelter, he's always willing to take the calls, and we're going to make room. We have to, that's our obligation. That's our mission, is to make sure that we have shelter for everybody that needs it, especially the moms with kids. Because as you know, it's not illegal to be homeless. But if you do have a child in tow, it is illegal. So we make sure that we ensure that no mother and child is left on the streets.
And then for those perhaps in this room that don't understand that line, if you're a mother with children and you're homeless, your children could be taken away from you and put in foster care.
That's correct, sir.
So that's the reason for the impetus of moving quickly to get moms with children.
And like I said, it's one of the fastest growing demographics, including people over the age of 55, actually. Those are the two fastest growing demographics within the homeless community. And we're doing everything we can to serve both of those demographics effectively to make sure that they're properly taken care of.
Terrific. Deputy Prajan?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
When you pick up a homeless person, or when, either in our city or neighboring city, do you have a protocol?
Yes, we offer them resources. There's certain resources in Coachella Valley, one of them being Indio. So we do offer them that. Most of the times they don't really take us up on it.
So, but if someone says, okay, take me somewhere, do you have is it geography dependent? Like, how do you make that decision?
Well, we try to call and see if there's space available.
I see.
If there's space available, we'll usually take them there.
Okay. And so, is there someone you call first?
Usually we'll reach out to one of the organizations, see if they do have space available. If not, sometimes we just provide them with certain numbers, or we'll put them on a list and then we'll contact the organization at a later time.
And is it based on the proximity of where you are? If you're closer to Indio, you call Indio. If you're closer to Palm Springs, you call Palm Springs.
We usually start with Indio. We usually start with
That's the answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I don't have any questions, but obviously your business model and your outreach is fantastic, and I applaud you on all your great work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have just a couple of brief questions. Let me preface my questions by saying that Dr. Taylor and I were out at your facility in Indio, 2 or 3 months ago. Very, very impressive. It's about the 3rd or 4th time I've been out there, but the new family shelter that you built is fantastic. Are you able to transition mothers with children into permanent housing? And if so, what's your success rate?
Absolutely, sir. Great question. Our women and children, when they come into our program, they get, I'm not saying officially they get preferential treatment, but we like to pay close attention to them. We make sure that mom especially has all the resources that are available to her, whether it's things like, the food assistance program or financial assistance or medical insurance, whatever she might even qualify for things like Section 8 housing or rapid rehousing through the county of Riverside. We want to make sure that she has all of those resources and she's connected. Our case managers are really great at doing that. Case in point, Councilmember Sanders, just today, we housed a woman with 4 kids, and she got into an apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment. She got a voucher from our thrift store. She got all the beds that she needed, all the dressers that she needed, couches, kitchen utensils, and you can actually catch it on her social media page. I think they posted it on. But this young lady and her 4 kids moved in, and the kids are really excited because the unit that they got in the affordable housing complex, wherever it was, it has a pool, and the kids are just over the moon that the fact that it has a pool. So that was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And by the way, she is employed. She is employed.
that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations for doing such a great job. I would like to meet with you one-on-one and bore into some of your statistics on transitioning your clients into permanent housing, how that's going, what your process is,
Absolutely.
so on.
Okay.
Thank you. I do have one. Yeah. Are you currently receiving referrals from the family court at Larson for BD cases with women and children?
I believe we are, sir. Yeah.
And there's,
We work very closely with the Riverside County Court System.
there's an outreach number to the judges know?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We also have AB 109 beds, and we work closely with probation, parole, all of that. Yeah. Councilmember Sanders, I'm going to give Chris my card, and he'll give it to you.
But before you leave, Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
Oh, I've been out a number of times. I think you're wonderful. I mean, I can't take credit for anything, but I'm very glad that we are a continuing sponsor of your operations. And I trust that we will do so for a long period of time.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Reed. Thank you so much. We're very grateful for all the support from our community, not just the cities as entities, but everybody in the cities. We've been around serving the Valley since 1971, so we're about ready to celebrate our 55th year of service here in the Valley. And we wouldn't be around unless it was the support of our community, because that's what keeps us going. So we're very grateful.
Do you still have the catering service? Because you catered a couple of parties.
Absolutely. Mission Catering is all over the place.
And
Yeah.
it's very reasonable, and the food is excellent, and of course, all the profits go to.
All the proceeds go to support our programs. Great question. The proceeds from the catering, I think it's fair to be perfectly clear when you make an investment in Mission Catering, the proceeds from that goes into a fund, and when a client gets a job and they need things like work boots or hospital scrubs or whatever they need to start that job, that fund pays for that, so the client does not have to.
So I recommend it highly. I really believe
Yeah.
it's excellent. And the staff is so wonderful. They know exactly what they're doing, and of course, they love what they're doing.
Yeah, it's part of our job skills training program. Yeah.
That's great. I just wanted to ask about capacity. If you looked on a daily basis to your census, let's say, that are
Mhm.
in your units, are you 100% full? Are you 80% full? 90%? I know you say you'll make room for anybody, which is
Right.
wonderful, but what is your capacity on a daily basis?
Great question, Mr. Mayor. When I say we can fit in anybody, we have a 70-bed emergency shelter, but we can actually technically go up to 80 if we have to, or 85. But total beds at the Mission, right now, we're right around 275 beds
Okay, and on any given day?
on any given day.
What's
we
your
have-
capacity like today, the 270 beds?
We're probably running around 265, 266, somewhere around in there. Yeah, close to 100%. We have people coming and going into various programs as they move out, get jobs, get housing. Might have an empty bed for a couple of days until we can fill it with a proper client candidate. But yeah, we're pretty much full all the time.
Which also a waiting list.
We right now we currently have a waiting list for single moms with kids. Yes, sir.
Okay, but you are building or completing a 40 to 60 bed structure.
It is already completed, and we're in the process of moving people in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next up is C5, Palm Springs Navigation Center presentation by Chief Operating Officer Rosa Verduzco. Mr. Russo. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Anne is actually going to do our presentation. She is our director for our navigation center, and I'll be here to answer any questions afterwards.
Hi. Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, City staff, and all community members here. We're really proud to be here to share with you the information.
Yes. Thank you for your name as well.
Yes, my name is Anne Eyring. I'm the Senior Director of Programs and Operations over the Navigation Center and the Palm Springs locations. So we're happy to be here to share this information with you about the Navigation Center and all of our operations there. We have several different facilities located there. We have the early entry facility, which is a overnight emergency shelter. We have 50 beds there, and they opened in March 2024. We have an average occupancy of about 46 beds per night, but lately we've been full most nights. The Navigation Center officially began their operations in November 2024. That includes 80 prefabricated units. Currently, we have 72 of those units occupied, which is a 90% occupancy rate. Of those units, 65 of them are for single adults, 5 of them are for families, and 10 of them are for transition age youth, which is age 18 to 24. And as you can see, we have the various levels. Part of the reason of our occupancy not being higher is the transitional age youth beds are not fully full at the moment, but we are always looking for people to add to those units. So just an overview of our programs and the way in which we operate. We have a 3-tier system, first of which is the Access Center, which is a day center where people can come and they can whatever services they need. There is full wraparound services, employment services. There's also coffee, snacks, clothing. They can charge their phones. They can just come in. They can get water anytime they need, all day long, 8 to 5. So whatever their level of engagement is, we're there for them. We have case management on site 7 days a week. We have the early entry shelter, which is the second phase. There's 50 overnight beds. We also have 5 beds set aside for the Palm Springs Police Department. If they are to find someone out on the street who is unhoused, they can just call us. I'm going to tilt this up just a tad. They can call us and we will accommodate whomever they have that needs shelter. At the Navigation Center, which is the final phase, we have our transitional housing, which is individual units. They have their own door, they have their own key. They do have a curfew of 11 p.m. every night, but they have intensive wraparound services. Each one has a case manager that's assigned to them to help them navigate whatever issues brought them to us. Some people start with mental health services, medical needs. Some people need help finding a job, resume building. We have all levels of people. Some people need social security help. So we help with all of that there. But these programs are a continuum of care, and they ensure that every individual receives the right care at the right time when they're ready for it. So the first facility that I spoke of is the Access Center. That's our day center. I'm not going to read every single statistic on this slide. There's quite a few, but as the gentleman before me stated, every statistic on here does represent a person who's going through probably the hardest time of their life. And so I just want everyone to remember that each statistic is someone who's working very hard to develop some self-sufficiency and stability in their lives. We at the Access Center, I can share with you that the reporting period for this is July 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025 for the fiscal year. We saw 760 unduplicated individuals at the Access Center, which is the day center, and we provided 15,711 services. There was over 3,000 case management services provided, as well as 1,319 housing placements and assistance and referrals, which include anything from housing assessments to Section 8 paperwork, housing searches, connection to other resources. And we had 75 individuals who were successfully transitioned into permanent housing and transitional housing at our Navigation Center. at our early entry facility. Like I said, we have about a 90% average monthly bed utilization rate. It's been consistently that high since we opened in March of 2024. During the reporting period, we had 376 unduplicated individuals who sought shelter in our facility. The average length of stay was about 17 days per participant, and the average new intakes per night was around 3. The Palm Springs Police Department, as I said, they have 5 beds set aside for them if they encounter anyone on the streets that is unhoused. And from our opening in March 2024 until May 31st, 2025, we had 186 duplicated individuals who sought and used those police intake beds. For the early entry facility, we had 73 people successfully transition into permanent housing. We provided over 31,000 meals. And we also, we have a model where we would like to remove barriers for people seeking shelter and assistance. So one of those things is pets. We do not want people to have to choose between housing and a pet or a companion, because when you're on the street, your pet may be the only companion that you have. So we do accommodate pets. We have had 20 dogs and 3 cats. We haven't had any other kinds of pets, but we are open-minded and willing to accommodate if need be. So people don't have to make that decision when they're seeking help. At the Navigation Center, we have served 96 unduplicated individuals within our reporting period, which includes 77 adults, 6 youth aged 18 to 24, and 6 families, which includes 6 adults and 7 children. For employment and case management services, we have had over 1,000 units of service for case management, which includes case planning, housing navigation, connection to mainstream benefits, behavior and mental health referrals, medical referrals, substance use support. They've had 290 units of service for job, skills, and employment. And continuing with the Navigation Center, we have had 18 total exits, and 7 of those were successful. Again, we opened the Navigation Center in November of 2024, so we are just over 6 months in, and we have had 7 successful exits into permanent housing. We provided over 16,000 meals, and we also accommodate pets there. We've had 17 dogs and 4 cats that have sheltered with us in the facility. I'd also like to share that according to the statistics from the January 2025 point in time count, which happens every single year in January all across the country, Palm Springs in general saw a 63% decrease in homeless on the streets. So I believe that our services we provide have directly impacted those numbers, and we've gotten a lot of people off the streets and building stability in their lives. We have many community partnerships with different organizations in the Valley. Some of those that I'd like to highlight are we have partnered with Molina Healthcare. Desert Healthcare District comes once a month with their mobile health clinic. They're actually at our facility today. They come the first Wednesday of every month. Palm Springs Disposal Services created a unique program for our participants called the Hand Up program, where they provide a 6-month paid internship at their location, which could lead into permanent employment. We've had one individual join that program. He was there for almost 6 months. He became successfully housed while he was there. Wellness Equity Alliance, we have a partnership with them. They come to the Access Center, provide mental health services and medical services. Riverside University Health, we have a collaboration with them to provide mental health, behavioral health services, and substance use help. And then Coachella Valley Area Government, CVAG, we have a partnership with them as well to help the individuals on their CV 200 list attain housing. We also have several activities that we like to provide. So when you're working on stabilization and getting out of homelessness, there's a lot of work involved, but we like to also provide the other side of work. We want people to have fun, social engagement, de-stress, things like that. So we have implemented bingo, karaoke, games, we have art, we have painting, We also have movie nights with popcorn for people. So we want them to have a balance because when you're coming from the streets, you don't have a lot of time for fun, and we want people to develop good, fun habits that aren't going to be a detriment to their life and to their the success. So that's a big part of it. It also helps them, develop relationships among one another and with our staff. So it's a big part of what we do. I just want to remind everyone that the Navigation Center it's not just a shelter. It's a pathway to self-sufficiency. It's an honor to serve the community in this way, and we've just got started. So if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Ann. Start, Mr. Bennett.
Again, thank you so much for all your hard work and outreach in this valley. It's really amazing to me how collective this valley is in helping people. I've lived in other counties in this state of California, and coming here, I'm always amazed at the community cohesiveness of the community, and the outreach is just a tremendous. Thanks so much.
Councilor Robert Sanders.
Yes, thank you. I have 3 questions, actually. You mentioned that you've transitioned 75 of your clients to permanent housing. Over what period of time?
That's our reporting period, which was July 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025.
Okay. Secondly, do you interface with the Department of Veterans Affairs or the County Veterans Service Office or veterans that you come into contact with?
We do.
Great. And so they're getting lined up with applications for benefits that they may be eligible for and so forth, correct?
Correct. That's what our case managers do. They meet with each of the clients and assess what programs they're qualified for, and then link them to those services.
And finally, what percentage of the clients that you serve prefer to remain homeless?
So that's a tricky question.
Not intended to be a trick question.
Is not. Oh, well. See, the way we are, so there's 2 facilities, right? We have our Indio facility, and then we have our Palm Springs facility. I think that a lot of the clients that we see in our early entry, our Access Center and our Daytime Center in Palm Springs, you see the folks that don't go and sign up for a bed. And those are the folks that we say, okay, they're not ready for the change. Not that they're choosing, but it takes us time to build some kind of rapport with the client for them to feel comfortable to come into services. A lot of times that's what's stopping clients from accessing any type of service. They has been, maybe we turn around maybe 5 folks because our beds are full occupancy every other day, maybe. Other than that, majority of the clients who go to our Daytime Center actually do access our beds. So I can't really answer that question. I think you see a lot of that number more at day centers. Our Indio facility is not formatted that way. It's in a emergency shelter. So like Coachella Rescue Mission might see more of those folks than we might see, because it's like the second level of transitioning out of homelessness.
Do you work together with the rescue mission?
So in Indio, we're very fortunate to have CVRM, which is just 2 blocks away from us. We do provide, though we are providing services to the same clientele, we have different type of programs. For example, we know if somebody's looking for overnight shelter, we're going to refer them over to CVRM because they're the providers for those beds. We have some other folks that have been transitioned over from their overnight beds that come into now the emergency shelter beds in our facility. So it's a joint effort. When we went over to Palm Springs, we took the model that it's in Indio to then create Palm Springs model. And Indio is very fortunate to have CVRM as being phase 1 of leaving homelessness, and then marked as the phase 2, which is the longer term program. In Palm Springs, there was none of this. So when we went and evaluated the city, we highly recommended to City Council, and they did move forward with it. And that's how we came across the early entry facility to serve as CVRM does, and then the navigation to be the longer term. So there's a 2-step process to exiting homelessness. So CBRM and Martha's and Indio, the reason why our success rate, and I'm sure CBRM's is too, is because there is that tier level of assistance for each of the clients.
Thank you.
So, your facility is amazing, the new facility navigation center, wow, really special. So, I sit on several homeless committee meetings, so, please help us understand again, the budget process. Because you got substantial funds for the creation of this facility. But as I recall, those have been spent now, and now you're kind of tasked with operating on an annual basis. Do you have clarity over where the funds are going to come from to operate?
So the navigation center, just so for everybody here, it's not owned by Martha's. It's a city program and it's operated by Martha's. So the grant actually that was given, it was to the city. It was never us as the agency. We have a contract with the city of Palm Springs. Our contract is a 3-year contract and it renews every 3 years. So for us, we have a budget that, funding, it's there. After the 3 years, it allows us time to say, do we want to continue operating? And it gives them the time saying, do we want to contract somebody else? But I know that based on the reporting, they do have some state funding. Of course, there's Homekey. There's another funding source that was a encampment resolution grant. So as far as the funds, Martha's as an entity is not in charge of raising the funds for it. However, we are working with other funding sources, that could potentially fund that program.
So you're both with Martha's.
Yes, Anna's our director over at the navigation, and I'm the chief operating officer, and I oversee both facilities.
Okay. Because my understanding is it's a pretty big number to operate on an annual basis, and Palm Springs doesn't have 100% of those resources. So perhaps you can, may I make a request that you kind of help us discover that information so that we can understand it? Total operating costs, how much money is required, how much money?
I can tell you what the operating cost is because it's our budget. It's a $4.2 million budget.
4.2.
4.2.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, again, there is stuff in the works for additional programs that could bring in revenue. And that will be with Martha's as an entity applying for. However, it's hard to apply for some funds when you're required to have some history of outcomes. So of course, it has not even been a year that we've been operational for us to provide some kind of outcomes for a funder. So that's the challenge that we're currently facing. But again, it's coming up. We're going to have 2 events out in Palm Springs and hopes to raise funds for those programs. Of course, Martha's has a very healthy donor base. However, we have not tapped into a lot of donors in Palm Springs because we didn't have a presence in Palm Springs. So then that's us as an agency just raising awareness of who we are and how we are in that city. And that's kind of what we're working on as an agency.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. Very good job. Okay. Public comments. Members of the public who wish to speak on consent items or items not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Speakers will be alerted when their time is up. Please note that while City Council values your comments, the Council cannot respond nor take action on matters not listed on the agenda until the matter may appear on the forthcoming or future agenda. Ms. Clerk, do we have any comments, public comments?
Yes, I have Mr. Glenn Schubert.
Mr. Schubert?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, council members. My name is Glenn Schubert. Been a resident of Indian Wells for 8 years. I'm speaking today about the Brown Act, number G6. So throughout California's history, local legislative bodies have played a vital role in bringing participatory democracy to the citizens of the city. Local legislative bodies, such as city boards, city councils, and city commissions, are created in recognition of the fact that several minds are better than one, and that through debate and discussion, the best ideas will emerge. The law which guarantees the public's right to attend and participate in meetings of local legislative bodies is the Ralph M. Brown Act. While California's Brown Act doesn't mandate formal training, it's crucial for all governing bodies and board members and public officials to understand its requirements. The Act ensures open and public meetings and local legislative bodies, and failure to comply can lead to legal repercussions. Training helps officials understand meeting procedures, public participation rights, and how to avoid violations. Why is that important? For transparency and accountability. The Brown Act fosters transparency and public trust in government by ensuring that decisions are made in public view. Legal compliance. Understanding the Act helps officials avoid legal challenges and potential penalties for non-compliance. And effective governance. Training equips officials with the knowledge and tools to conduct meetings effectively and efficiently. While not mandatory, Brown Act training is a practical necessity for all governing board members and public officials to ensure compliance and effective governance. In closing, the Brown Act applies to the legislative bodies of all local agencies in California. Examples are city councils, city boards, city commissions, and city committees. I ask that the Council consider amending Chapter 2.04 entitled Roles and Responsibilities of Council Members of the City in the Council Policy Manual, Section 2.04.10 entitled Overview, to add the following language. To ensure compliance and promote good governance, Council members shall participate in an annual Brown Act training. This training will cover key provisions of the Act, including the definition of the legislative bodies, public notice and agenda requirements, rules relating to public participation, prohibited serial meetings and communications, and consequences of noncompliance. This language is similar to the amended language proposed in G6 for Chapter 3.03 of the City Policy Manual. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert, as the city manager. I'm sure you took a note on that. Okay, next.
Mike Day. Mike Day.
Mike Day. Good afternoon.
Mike Day.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name's Mike Day. I'm the business manager with Labor's Local 1184, LIUNA, representing over 6,000 members and over 600 members that work in the golf course industry here in the Coachella Valley, including those right here at the Indian Wells Resort, as well as thousands of union members outside working our streets, paving our streets, empowering the growth of the region in the valley. I want to start by thanking you for your continued partnership and support in our relationship with Troon Golf and the city of Indian Wells Resort, a public golf destination, one of the best public golf destinations in the country. Our members take great pride in keeping this beautiful, professional, and world class. But this course is more than just a place of work. It's also home to something close to our hearts for LIUNA, our yearly golf course annual scholarship event raised right here at Indian Wells Resort. This year alone, we've raised over $810,000 for our members and their families. This has a life-changing impact on our members and their families. It would not be possible without your support and the quality of this venue. Our partnership extends beyond the fairways together with the city, which includes our proud partnership as founding partner of the Acrisure Arena and the Coachella Valley Firebirds. In reflection of our shared commitment to building communities and investing in the future of this valley, we ask ahead for your support in the ongoing negotiations with Troon Golf. We're working to secure great and strong health care benefits, fair wages, and retirement benefits for the workers who are essential to the guest experience and the daily success at the Indian Wells Resort. Let us celebrate the excellence of this course and stand together to protect the people who make it excellent, a few of which are in the crowd. We respect to ask the city of Indian Wells to support us in these negotiations, to advocate for fairness, and to keep a secure contract that reflects the values that this city stands for. Respect, dignity, and opportunity is all we ask for working people who help shape this valley. I'd like to thank you for your time today and your support. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer those.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Day?
Thank you for your results.
Thank you very much.
All righty, next matter is the city manager's reports. City manager, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No report to report today.
Okay. Thank you. Next is the city attorney reports and comments. City attorney, do you have any report or comment?
Mayor and council, no, I do not.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question of the city manager.
Okay.
If I may. We all received a communication, Indian Wells views, IW views, came in very recently. And it's all about the finances at the golf resort. I have to admit, I can't make heads or tails of it. None of the numbers that I'm looking at sync up with anything that's on our financial statements, and I'm wondering if you can help us out.
Certainly, but I think there's someone much more qualified than I am. We asked Kevin Carpenter for it.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council.
Kevin, how are you?
Good. I'm available for any questions you may have, sir.
Well, there's a little mini spreadsheet here, for example, that shows net income versus budget year to date through May. And then in the text, there are some numbers that are thrown out. Do these numbers in any way reflect what the financial statements tell us in terms of the performance of the golf resort?
No, they're in that current report that you were discussing, there were certain omissions from that report.
Can you expand on that?
I can. So regarding that report, there were, especially looking at, I think was what I'm going to refer to as Table 1, there were two omissions. The first omission was just the selection of the wrong line. The city reports net profit or net income as our line, which is a calculation of actual revenues over actual expenses, and inadvertently, or however it was done, it included depreciation as well. So there was an error in that use of that line. And then secondly, in the comparative data for the actual of this year relative to the current year budget and last year's actuals as well, the current year data included the city's fixed assets or capital acquisitions for the year, but unfortunately, the budget comparison and the prior year actual comparison omitted that number. So those capital assets were not referred to in those last two series of numbers.
So,
Could I just get a clarification? I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want you to go on. But the first part where you were saying the net income, you're suggesting that what was in that document is low and the actual net income was higher. Is that what you're suggesting?
It was. The line that was chosen also had depreciation, which is a paper expense for specifically in this particular, it actually didn't actually include all of the depreciation, including all the fixed assets. It was just included of a line item.
I'm not an accountant.
For-
I want to know, the number that is on this sheet is lower than the actual number, is what you're saying.
That I am saying that.
Thank you, that's English and I understand.
Thank you, Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
You're not alone there, Mayor Pro Tem Reed. I'm not an accountant, and don't pretend to be one. But that explains why I'm having great difficulty syncing up these numbers with what the actual financial statements say.
Correct. It's a little bit of leeway. Mayor and council, all of the council members get a monthly report of the financials, which shows a table. And of course, I think the confusion is that the table you received for your May financials does not correspond to this table.
Okay, and the accounting methodology that we're using is not new. It's been around for a long time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We've done exactly the same. For all the 27 years I've been here, it's the same methodology.
Right, so that goes back to, for example, 2012.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And for almost all of those years, up until 2023, did the golf resort ever turn a profit?
Yeah, right, sir. So for the analysis that we did a comparative analysis to how the golf course is performing since we recrafted the Troon management agreement. That's what precipitated this calculation. And in that, the golf resort, the golfer amenity fee or subsidy was omitted as part of this brand new management agreement. So we went back from fiscal year ending 2010 through 2020 and removed all of the apples to apple similar subsidies for golf course subsidies during that actual 11-year period. And in that time, the total operational loss of the golf resort was $7,017,659.
And then what happened in 2023?
So that, to your point, we renegotiated the management fee and actually the entire Troon agreement, and we removed from the city the requirement to subsidize the golf resort for resident golf, which at the time was about $2.7 million a year based on the average play at the time.
And so now the financial statements reflect that the golf resort is actually turning a profit. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So for the last 3 years, the golf resort will turn a profit. As a matter of fact, there is a nuance here. The golf resort, even though we're now in that construction period, the current year-end estimate for the golf resort from strategic planning prior to capital expenditures is about $343,000. I'm not sure that Troon will hit that mark, but we'll be very close, and will certainly, to your point, Councilmember Sanders, will be profitable before capital expenditures. And of course, as you know, during strategic planning, the City Council requested that Troon reforecast through April actuals through the year, which actually lowered the after capital profit to a loss of about $217,000, I think, something like that.
So the numbers then, particularly the fact that it is projected that the golf resort will turn a net profit at the end of this fiscal year, the fiscal year that just ended, I should say, is completely at variance with what this IWV's article reports. Is that correct?
There's correct, but I want to make one clarification so that there's no variance to anything. The issue of it being profitable is prior to capital expenditures. And so I'm going to swing from the hip, and say, we'll make something, over 200,000, but maybe not quite the full 343. And as we have already discussed with you and everyone who attended strategic planning, the after capital loss will at that point was somewhere around a deficit of about 230,000. That may go up a little bit, but that's where we'll land.
Understood. Thank you.
Anybody else? Want to get into this dogfight?
So I would like to say something. Is it true that the restaurant was remodeled during these, which would affect these numbers, and the remodel of the course?
Both of those items will affect the performance of the golfers of the restaurant. And there is a lot of rounds or covers or restaurant folks who attend that are rounds driven. So a lot of the Troon modeling, which was all incorporated into the 2-year of budgets that the council has approved, has incorporated lower performance in the restaurant due to reduced rounds.
So up until the new contract with Troon, when the View turned into Kestrel, the city was subsidizing the golf resort and the restaurant, correct?
Yeah, correct. So I want to be very factual with everything here. For that 11-year period between two fiscal year ending 2010 through 2020, the total operational loss unsubsidized was $7,020,000.
And since the new contract, what is our subsidy today?
There is no, what I'm referring to is what's called the amenity fee for golfers, resident golfers playing. So since the new contract, there has been, the answer is zero. There is no subsidy anymore.
Okay, so in closing, we are in a much better position now than we were 10 years ago with the resort in total and including the restaurant.
Clearly.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Just as a point of clarification, there's still subsidy for food and for consumer products bought through the health account, 20%.
Correct. So what we're talking about to your Dr. Taylor is, you're exactly correct. And what we're talking about in all of the numbers I've said is only the removal of the subsidy for golf rounds only. There still is a 20% subsidy for food and beverage and a 20% subsidy for merchandise in the golf shop.
And that's to backfill the 20% resident benefit.
Correct. It's a use it or yes, as that liability is occurred, it is paid.
Right.
Nobody else? I've got a couple of things. I'm not an accountant either, but I am an attorney and I'm familiar with contracts. Is it correct that the contract that we had previously with Troon was a flat management fee?
Correct.
And in the new contract, the management fee is based on Troon's performance vis-a-vis what's called the annual plan. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the annual plan is another word for budget. Would you agree, or is it a little bit different?
For these purposes, it's the same.
Okay. So just so everybody in the audience understands now, we have an incentive agreement now with Troon. They don't automatically get a management fee, correct?
Correct. Their fee is based on their financial performance.
And if Troon performs within the annual plan at 100% of the top line, the gross revenues of the golf resort, then they get a 2.5% management fee. Is that correct?
I believe it's 2.5%, Mr. Mayor. I'll have to look that up. Your lip surprised me a little bit, but that's okay.
I'm not trying to surprise
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, I think that
For everybody, what the management contract, whether it's 2% or 2.5%, I'm not really concerned.
yeah, I'm with you.
The
Yes,
magnitude of that.
they'll get their full management fee at whatever percentage of gross revenue that is. If they hit the annual plan or exceed it, and to your point, if they fall behind that annual plan, the percentage of their management fee relative to those revenues is on an ever declining schedule.
Correct.
Fine.
And then when you get to 85% of the gross revenues of the annual plan, if they're below 85%, then there's an option by the city to terminate the contract with Troon at any time they fall beneath 85%. However, Troon has a right to then pay up to 85% and retain their contract, correct?
Correct. And as I remember, for clarity's sake, the ability, when you said the right to pay, I think that's subject to the city council's approval.
Oh, what?
I believe that's correct.
I thought they could write off the contract if they paid up to 85% and retain their rights. Anyway, so that's a different kind of contract. So Troon has to perform in order to make their management fee now.
Correct.
And we've been paying them a management fee since we initiated that contract.
Yes, sir, we have.
Okay. And in addition, Kestrel, if Kestrel performs at 100% of their annual plan, they get an additional 1% incentive payment. Is that correct?
I think I'll have to go back. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I always have the answer and I don't right now. That the spirit of what you've just said, though, I do. And so if Troon, one of the things that was very important to the council during the renegotiation of the agreement was the performance specifically for food and beverage, and even more specifically to the restaurant. So there are additional incentives to outperform the annual plan in both those areas.
And if Kestrel performs 100% of the annual plan for Kestrel, they get an additional 1% of the gross revenues of the entire golf resort, correct?
It's my fault, not yours, sir. I don't know this.
It's not agendized. He's not, I mean, if you'd like to agendize it, I'm sure you can read the contract and be prepared. But this is all part of the city manager's report.
Right, if the council wishes, we'd be more than happy to bring a report back at your next meeting, going through the terms of the contract and annual performance of the golf resort and how those incentives work out. But if that's the privilege of the council.
Well, I wasn't meaning to surprise, and I wasn't meaning to go beyond the agenda, but we've spent about 20 minutes on other people's questions, not on the agenda. So I just want to clarify for the audience what our contract is. That's all. So we understand.
But let me just say, I don't think it's a coincidence that retooling the contract in 2023 is in sync with the sudden profitability of the golf resort.
If that's a question, the answer is yes. I mean, that was the primary reason the council requested the contract be recrafted the way it was.
And for the first time since anybody can remember, the golf resort is profitable before capital.
That's also a very factual statement.
Thank you.
So just in accordance with Mayor Pro Tem Reed's, I agree. Mr. City Manager, I would like to ask that we do get a report on Troon's adherence to the annual plan, the percentage of payments that we've given them, what their percentage is, and so on at our next meeting or at a future meeting. Thank you. Great. Let's see. Is there anybody else?
Hi, Mayor, if I may, before we move on to the consent items, that's where we left off. We do have one speaker card that was, Mr. Laxville wanted to speak also on your general comments, so we're going to take him.
Sure, we can do.
In here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff, neighbors. First, let me say, God willing, I'm glad you're doing better.
Thank you, and thank you for your email. I really appreciate it.
Glad you're here. I'm Martin Lax, 30-year resident on Via Corona. A few things. Website, city website issues. Searching for records on what we call laserfiche.com, which is the city website that takes you to documents. The portal is great, but getting information is difficult. And it's hard to even get to it. So you can only find that search for documents on the homepage on your computer. And while I was sitting here, I did that on my phone, and it's not even listed here. You know, we have these boxes here to choose what section you want to go to, whether it's resident benefit card, crime update, visit Indian Wells, departments. You don't have that box on your phone to get to the portal to search for documents. And even if you go into the search bar to search for documents, there's no way of even getting there. So it needs to be improved, is what I'm here to say. Related to that is our city has 151 track maps. I'm doing some historical research and other things now, and the problem is that dates of these track maps are not listed. The dates that they're scanned are. Makes it awfully difficult. Sorting, organizing, looking at things in order, can't do it. Very difficult. And really problematic is the naming of these PDF files that are accessible online. For example, TM1191. It means nothing. It's not track map 1191. Not at all. I think it's a number on the document that's not even a recorder's number, nothing to do with anything, just maybe a copy page number. The real number is track map 2187, which is a section of our old part of Indian Wells. So it's erroneous, misleading, difficult to find and sort. It needs to be corrected. I'm asking this body to have staff maybe look at this. All right, last thing I think, maybe one more after that. I'm not sure if you've noticed, we have a new trash can with a cement pad and a dog poop station on the corner, southeast corner of Osage and El Dorado. What is going on, guys? I'm sorry for speaking that way, but my neighbors and I, we don't want it there. We don't like it there. We don't want a trash can behind our houses. I've been coming to council meetings lately, watching things. I haven't seen that on the agenda. There it is. $5,000, by the way. I just want to say thank you for all your good service. You're good people, and appreciate you being open-minded and listening to us all.
Thank you, Ms. Gladys. All right. Is there anything else, Ms. Clever?
No.
Okay, we're going to go to G, the consent calendar. Before approval of the consent calendar, there is a modification. The consent item G6. So I assume, are we pulling that for the modification?
We can, or I can just briefly just let you guys know that we did simplify some modification on the policy. So I just provide you guys with the modifications also available for the public. We can't pull it to give a full report. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that there was a modification and revision.
Anybody in the council have a question on this? Or would like to pull it?
It's got an excellent edit. Well done.
Thank you.
Full adoption of the consent calendar. Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. Okay. Moving on to our public hearings. We had no public hearings at this council meeting. And so moving to general business. Mrs. Staff has a presentation on item I-1, amendment to Sheriff Services Agreement and supplemental appropriation for motorcycle purchases. Mr. City Manager.
We do. I'll go ahead and take that staff report, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Before you is staff item I-1. It's an amendment to the Sheriff Service Agreement and a supplemental appropriation for motorcycle purchases. Back at your strategic planning session on April 17th, the City Council asked the Public Safety Committee to review your police department deployment model for efficiency and effectiveness. Subsequently, the Public Safety Committee met with the intent to examine opportunities to expand our existing partnership with our code communities to see about becoming more efficient and effective in our police service model, while also maintaining low crime rates and ensuring community safety. The council also wanted to examine the opportunity to add a motor officer here in our community, an additional motor officer to correspond with Deputy U, to address traffic enforcement in the community, which has been a resident request for several months. If you recall, a few years ago, the City Council added additional evening patrol hours of a Riverside Deputy Sheriff in the community to address community concerns of perceived criminal activities occurring at night. The Public Safety Committee met on June 10th and approved a Sheriff Department recommendation to reallocate this added evening patrol hours that were approved a few years ago to address the community concern of traffic enforcement. Specifically, this added evening patrol will be converted into a full-time motor officer as well as needed supervision for both the Indianola set team and the Indianola motor officers. As the Public Safety Committee met with our Lieutenant Frank Schiavone, who was also our police chief, he endorsed this program that he presented as it aligns with the city's pressing concerns about traffic safety and is strongly supported by 5 years of data for calls for service, both crime and incident priorities here in our community. From the staff report, Chief Schiavone said the proposal leverages the full capabilities of our motor units, which are trained to handle all calls as effectively as patrol deputies, with equal or faster response times, and relies on the sheriff's obligation to ensure public safety, utilizing deputies from surrounding cities to respond if needed. The community of Indianola has voiced significant concerns about traffic safety here. And through the Public Safety Committee, they have worked closely to address those needs here with the city staff. As I mentioned, traffic safety has been an issue, and we just saw a report earlier from Deputy Prajan, where Deputy U, his first year of service here, issued over 1,200 citations from May of 2023 to May 2024. This year, he has exceeded 1,300 tickets in the first few months or first half of the year. So he's on pace to do almost double what he did last year. The 5-year data for calls for service illustrates that a majority of the calls for service during the daytime hours is equally compared to the evening hours. And specifically, 50.7% or 51% of all calls for service occur during the day, with 49% of the calls in the evening. According to our police chief, this data does not reflect the data or the growing community concern for traffic enforcement. So we have this data. It doesn't show that the community need for additional traffic enforcement. While calls for service during the day and night hours are similar, priority incidents are significantly higher during the day. So I'm going to share with you a little bit what those priority calls are. Priority 1 calls are life-threatening. Priority 2 are considered urgent. And priority 3 calls are considered non-urgent. In 2024-2025, the day shift handled a little over 1,000 priority incidents of either 1, 2, or 3, which represents 64% of all calls for priority calls. Conversely, about 36% of all priority 1 calls, or priority calls 1, 2, and 3 occur in the evening. Even priority 1 incidents are fewer during the day hours than during the evening as well. I wanted also, sorry for a minute, this is from Lieutenant Schiavone trying to get his data. The 2-year data, from his notes, is that also shows that priority 1 calls occur 65% during the day, 64% of priority calls during the day, 69 or almost 70% of priority 3 calls occur during the day. referring that the additional services needed during our daytime hours. This pattern is consistent for the 2 years and underscores the need for robust daytime staffing. Lieutenant Schiavone, since he is not here, asked to make sure you understand that motor officers are trained to handle all calls of service, life-threatening, urgent or non-urgent, and serious crimes. With response times equal to or perhaps faster than our patrol deputies, with a higher daytime priority incident load, the city will be well covered to ensure no gaps in emergency response at all. In addition, our evening patrol is heavily covered by our patrol units, set deputies, and also the mandatory coverage that we have from Riverside Sheriff deputies in the cities of La Quinta and Palm Desert provide mutual aid. If the council approves this council's strategic goal to reallocate some resources and provide additional traffic enforcement and the other benefits as outlined, the city is expected to generate additional $330,000 in general fund revenues. Specifically, the new deployment model would have an additional motor officer in the community 4 days a week, on top of what Deputy U is doing. That means we will have 6 out of the 7 days of coverage. So these will have actually some weekend coverage, which we currently do not have. We also just stagger the hours between 2 motors to have a little bit more coverage both from the morning commute hours and the evening commute hours for traffic is heavily impacted. The partnership with Rancho Mirage is very important. Both the City of Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells have worked on similar partnerships with public safety models for our forensic tech, crime analysts, and whatnot. And in this situation, both cities are in need of 2 sergeants. So rather of both of our communities adding 2 sergeants, we're actually going to share half of a motor sergeant and half of a set sergeant. This is where we're generating the savings. What's really nice about the motor sergeant is rather than having that motor sergeant sitting in an office in Palm Desert, they have agreed to have a motor sergeant that will actually be assigned a motorcycle. Thus, the reason that you're seeing a recommendation, 2 motorcycles being purchased. So the cities of both Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells are going to share the cost of these 2 sergeants, of which the motor sergeant will be doing patrol in both our communities to provide added traffic enforcement. But then also we'll be sharing the cost of that new motorcycle for that traffic sergeant. So in your recommendation, Council, we're asking the council to approve the Public Safety Committee recommendation for amendment to the Sheriff's Surgery Agreement with Riverside County and authorize the City Manager to execute the same. Authorize the staff to develop an agreement with the City of Rancho Mirage to share public safety services and for the City Manager to execute that as well. It approves a supplemental appropriation for costs associated with the purchase of 2 fully equipped motorcycles. And finally, action consent from secret review under SECO Guidelines Section 15061B3. That concludes staff report. I'm going to turn it over to our Public Safety Committee members for any additional comments that they may have. Thank you.
Thank you. To our 2 Public Safety Committee members, do you have any comments?
I think the city manager covered the ground very thoroughly. We looked at this in depth. We studied it for quite a while, and I think that what is recommended responds to the shifting priorities that we have, and it responds in a very robust way, and it actually saved us money.
Is that a motion?
I was so moved.
Before we take a vote, we do have a public comment.
We have to do public comment first. And also we need to get Mr. from, at least if you would like to, from Mr. Manager.
Yeah, so I would like to add, we're not losing any coverage whatsoever. We're actually gaining because we're adding a motor officer during the day. And at nighttime, when any city has a domestic violence call, a DUI, or robbery, there's reciprocity with all of our adjoining cities. So having 1 officer at night is no less than having 2, especially when most of our city is gated. So basically, you have 1 officer covering the ungated portion of our city, and 111 and some of the other major thoroughfares through the city. And if there is a call for another officer, we're going to have one from La Quinta, Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert, and that's our agreement with those cities currently in place.
Okay. Any other comments from council?
But I don't think it's the time for.
Okay. Well, all right. We'll open the public comment. Is there any public comment?
Yes, Marty and Lex.
Mr. Lex.
Council, Mr. Mayor, and everyone else. These numbers aren't really being looked at correctly. And, all right. The report says the proposal shifts a portion of late evening and early morning patrol to traffic. So we are losing patrolling in our neighborhood. It states that the 5-year data for calls for service illustrate that majority occurs during the day and night compared to evening. 50.7 and 49.3, that's a distinction without a difference. The report tries to break down the level of urgency of a call, and I tell you that when you call the sheriff, it's urgent. The way the numbers are laid out here, 7,000 calls per day, 6,800 evening calls, I think those are just calls for service, anyone calling in. But if you're calling in at night, it's a 69% chance that it's a serious level 1 or level 2 call, as opposed to during the day, it's a 53%. If you look at these numbers, let's look at these numbers. And I want to say, if you reduce the level of service during the evening and at night, any loss in 1 second can make a life or death risk. And I'm a resident here, and I care about our safety more than I care about a ticket. Not that that's a bad idea, but not to take away service from our patrolling our neighborhoods. And I've lived here 30 years, and I see a police officer coming around, and it's been a while since I've seen one. And I used to regularly see them. You look at these numbers, 24 life-threatening during the day and 19 at night. What's the difference? 563 in the day and 3 to 4 at night. Again, what's the difference? It's a lot. These are level 1 and level 2. The other ones, they're We're not in favor of reducing patrolling in our neighborhoods. In fact, we rarely see, like I said, patrollers and a motorcycle person, it's not the person going to be patrolling our neighborhood. The request is premised on a resident's alleged concerns about traffic enforcement. The concern is overstated. The fact is that speed is not an issue, and the newly disclosed 2025 stop study, stop warrant study, what does it say? Field observations during our site visit confirmed vehicles were regularly driving at or below the posted speed limits. Now, we are well, if not overly well served with Officer Yu. Before him in May 23-24, there were roughly 1,200 citations, and the following year, guess what? He doubled it, 2,400. Let's give it a go. Look, he's on his pace this year too, 1,300, half the year. And that does not include other deputies giving citations. Last comments. The report doesn't say how many motorcycles or vehicles we own, their condition, nor their expected useful life. I think these are facts to consider. I don't want to see us losing time of patrol in our neighborhood, and spending an additional $100,000 for 2, not 1 motorcycle, 2, is not warranted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Is there any other public comment on this particular issue? We'll close the public comment. Time for council deliberation and action. Does anybody have any comment?
Yeah. So, Mr. Lax raised my concern, which was, so can you please describe, Chris, the coverage of current police then at night and day and night, or assuming that this passes, what will we have in our city?
I'll have a note, Lieutenant, or I should say, police chief, he's not here in a personal matter. So if I can ask Deputy Greg to help me with this, we'll put him on the spot a little bit.
Thank you, Deputy.
We do have coverage, and that's just coming up, both 24-hour patrol in our community, We have CSOs throughout the day and night. We have motor officers during the day, and then the set team that operates kind of a day and evening shift as well. But I'll let them go into greater detail as how answer those questions.
Thank you, Deputy.
No, that might-
Please step to the mic.
Are you familiar with the matter at hand?
Yes, sir. So the set team will be adjusting our hours to help cover whatever gap there may be, which we don't see there to be any gap. We have to remember that Palm Desert, La Quinta, those deputies will respond to calls in Indian Wells if necessary. So coverage, we don't see any issues when it comes to a lack of or a decrease in response time or coverage in the area with the change.
But so specifically, I guess the question is, currently, we have X, and the change is Y, and you just kind of,
Well, so currently we usually have 2 deputies at night,
yeah.
but based on the amount of calls, it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem to be efficient, to put it bluntly. So obviously emergencies can happen.
Yep.
So that's why we have other areas that are ready to commit to covering Indian Wells. When I was on patrol, especially at night, we always were very aware of, because for the most part there was only 1 deputy in Indian Wells. We were very aware of that. We always listened to the radio. If they needed an additional unit, we went there. There wasn't no asking about to anybody. We all had an understanding that obviously we're going to go where we're needed. So I don't see how that is. It's never going to change. If there's 2 or more deputies, if there's more needed, they will respond without any hesitation.
And then secondly, Rancho Mirage is a significantly larger city. So the idea of going 50-50, does that mean we're going to get 50% of the time? Or is that just kind of how you set up the financial agreement and it's kind of...
That's a great question, and I think we're going to have to either defer to him or Lieutenant Schiavone when he comes back.
So the additional motor officer, 1 full-time, is Indian Wells dedicated and only Indian Wells. The partnership is actually on the supervision of the motor team of the 2 officers, WU and the new position, because also in Rancho Mirage, they're in need of supervision of their 2 motors. And so that they currently have, they're looking to add motors as well in the future. So rather than Indian Wells are responsible for having supervision and have to pay for 1 individual sergeant, we share that sergeant between the 2 cities to supervise all 4 motors. Okay. As far as the motor officer or sergeant being on patrol, it will be shared, and we've already asked our lieutenant to make sure that we're getting equal coverage of that sergeant patrolling both communities, depending on what their schedule allows. But yes, we're supposed to 50%.
And so the supervisor doesn't necessarily go into the street necessarily.
It is the motor supervisor as well. We've asked that does occur. The set supervisor, less likely, but we've asked for that as well, both the Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells. And the captain and lieutenant have both said that they are supportive of that as well.
Okay. So in theory, we have kind of 3 situations, right? 1, leave it as is, 2, make the changes recommended, or I guess the third one would be the reason for the share. If we were looking to be efficient with our police coverage anyways in the city, if we didn't share with Rancho Mirage, we wouldn't be sharing a supervisor, but the coverage would still be the same. Right?
I think that's right.
We would buy a motorcycle.
Yes.
We'd have an extra guy who would shift money from the night to the day. Right?
And we probably have to have our own full-time sergeant anyway.
Is that due to the number of personnel?
Correct.
I see. So it's a union.
It's a chain of command that the sheriff's department has for supervising motor officers and set officers.
Got it.
So, I do want to add the discussion of the public safety committee was to, as they have in the past, constantly review the data to see if future changes are needed. So as data comes back and there's a differing need, we can always change our deployment model. That we review next year as well.
Okay, we're down.
We get reports from the city every once in a while on arrests, et cetera. And it seems to me, and I could be wrong, but it seems to me at nighttime, most of the problems, or a very large number of the problems, are at hotels where people have been drinking, they get into fights, they whatever the problem. So it's not a matter of public safety for our residents. These are visitors to our city that just drink too much and cause problems. So, in your opinion, one officer with the backup from the other cities would be sufficient to keep us safe.
My opinion, based on the data, yes.
Thank you.
If I could.
Mr. Mayor, can I add a historical perspective?
Sure.
Before you speak, I don't mean to interrupt you, but two of us, Mayor Pro Tem Reed and myself, were on the council when we staffed up the night patrol. We added an additional patrol officer in 2021 or 2022, that time frame. One of the reasons we felt the need to do that was because the city of Palm Desert had seriously cut back its public safety budget in response to diminishing revenues as a result of the pandemic. So that mutual aid that we have been speaking about was not as readily available because of the cutback in the public safety budget in Palm Desert. What they did is they reduced the number of sworn deputies out on the street and backfilled with community service officers. Well, a community service officer, unfortunately, is not a sworn deputy, does not carry a gun. So that was one of the major considerations for the city of Indian Wells adding another deputy at night. Now, Palm Desert has restored its public safety budget. They're back up to speed in terms of the number of black and whites on the street. And so that mutual aid that is available to us is now much more robust than it was in 2021, 2022.
And I'd like to add to that, and with those two night officers and the decrease in officers in Palm Desert, is it not true that if there was a priority one call, that our officers were going to Palm Desert to assist?
That's correct, because it's mutual. And another thing we haven't taken into account is Lieutenant Schiavone. Lieutenant Schiavone is very strategic in how he wants the city protected, and he makes sure that the deputies working there are the best available. So you're going to get the best the station has to offer. So one A player might be worth better than two C players.
And the sergeant, their job is to manage the officers, the set teams, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let me also throw in, I'm sorry, but again, a historical perspective. It's all about response time. So if there's an emergency, how fast can a black and white get to the scene where the incident is occurring? It's like roulette. We could have one or two black and whites in the eastern part of the city, and it would take them quite a few minutes to get to the western part of the city, whereas a patrolman in Palm Desert who happens to be in the eastern part of Palm Desert can get there much quicker. So just because we're removing a deputy at night does not mean that the coverage is going to diminish. We will still have sufficient black and white coverage.
Okay. I wasn't on council at the time in 2021, but I do remember the public comments and the public meetings about the second deputy that was deployed at night. I should say some great expense to the city, over $1 million. A year. Right. And the one thing that I think is getting lost here, and I think Mr. Lax and Dr. Taylor pointed this out, at least indirectly, is that in addition to response time, there's also deterrence of a patrol car. And I believe that the main reason, and I know that public safety has studied this and has the data, and I appreciate that, but my recollection of one of the major reasons that we redeployed a second patrol was because of community anxiety that there wasn't enough coverage in the city. They didn't see the patrol cars, and there was a desire to have more patrol cars, another patrol at night. And even though the data at that time, if I remember correctly, did not actually support, in general police terms, having a second patrol, it was the deterrent effect that was desired by the community, and the council voted for at that time. And all of this is, I appreciate this discussion, because this all brings back to me this discussion that was being had in council back then, where there was we have a number of people living alone in our community, and widows living alone, who came in and spoke, and I was at those meetings in the audience, not on council, and spoke about their anxiety about the fact that there was insufficient deterrent coverage of the city, not response time, but deterrence. And I believe that since that time, and now we're talking about 4 years, and I can ask the city manager, I don't believe we've had any complaints that I'm aware of anybody complaining that they haven't seen patrol cars or they feel anxiety. Is that correct? Have you received any complaints that?
Yes, we do from time to time get residents wondering why they don't see a black and white.
Okay.
And the reason is many of our police officers, especially the SET team, are not black and whites. And so they drive around the community on patrol and they don't realize it. And so that's where we get concerns, as they may have been used to prior to a few years ago. The SET team and all their deputies were in patrol cars. And I think that's something that has changed over the years.
But are both of the patrols that are replacing now, one of them, were they always in patrol cars?
Patrol cars patrol was in black and white.
Okay.
But I think SET was also in black and white at one point. But we do get complaints, people don't see them, but we'll do it.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but residents don't realize that the officers are actually on patrol, they just don't recognize the vehicles.
Okay, but now we're only gonna have one officer in a black and white, so to speak, and the other people patrolling will be SET officers who are not in patrol cars. Is that?
SET or motorcycle.
SET or motorcycle. All right, so everybody understands this is a redeployment issue. It's based on data, I believe, from the Public Safety Department. And we are actually going to redeploy one of our 2 patrol officers that we have at night to a motorcycle officer in the day. Is that essentially stating it in a brief?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if there's a problem, can we go back?
Absolutely.
Fine. And then, excuse me,
Go ahead.
you say people don't complain. You haven't heard a complaint about not seeing a black and white? I checked with our nighttime security that when we started this 3 years ago, the deputy came once and has never come back in 3 years. So you want to complain that I don't see black and white? I don't know where they are. I presume you don't go into private HOAs. So if we're spending $1 million a year on a very narrow portion of our city, it just seems unnecessary, but that's just my personal opinion.
I don't think we're gonna reduce substantially the money we're spending. We're just gonna redeploy it in the daytime rather than at night.
Right. Yes, but we're gonna see then.
Do the patrols go into the HOAs or not?
We will conduct air checks inside those HOAs, but it's usually based on a call or a request.
From their own security?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
HOAs have their own.
And as I said, Lieutenant Schiavone is probably one of the biggest advocates for proactivity. He's going to demand that whoever is at night is very visible. So I think he's definitely somebody that likes to look at it on a daily basis. He's going to review. He's going to make sure that areas are being covered, and if there's any concerns, he's going to make changes right away.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a motion?
I second the motion.
I move the recommended action.
I second.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. The motion passes 4-1. Go ahead. Okay. Item 9.2. Pilot program, temporary installation of speed cripples along Fairway Drive. Hello,
Good afternoon.
you have a report.
I do, and a presentation. Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, residents. Dina Purvis, your Assistant Public Works Director. The first of my 2 topics today, exciting world of speed cushions. At the June 10th council meeting, council directed staff to bring a staff report outlining what steps it would take to install speed cushions on Fairway Drive. If approved, this pilot program would create a process for installing speed cushions on public roads in the city. After a bidding process to achieve a competitive cost, the cushions would be ordered so that a delivery schedule could be established, thus setting the timeline for delivery. For the study. So what exactly would we study? Tubes such as these in the photo would be placed on the roadways. They record both speed and volume. Cielito is also being recommended in addition to the streets you see there for data collection due to resident reports of high pass-through type use on this particular street currently. The tubes would be placed for at least 30 days prior to the cushion installation to give a clear picture of the existing conditions. Once the data is collected, the cushions would be installed and data would continue to be collected for 30 days afterwards to chart any changes. 2 items to note from this particular slide. Right now, we are foreseeing data capturing starting in the fall.
Excuse me, we have quiet, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
Data capturing starting in the fall for season, but there is an option to place the tubes earlier if anyone is interested in summer numbers. The main reason to continue data collection after installation is to monitor any unintended consequences. So will drivers divert to a different route than Fairway? Will they go up Cook or some other street? That particular consequence is one of the main reasons that monitoring Cielito is being advised. The best outcome would be able to report that the cushions did indeed slow speed as intended, and maybe even reduce volumes of those using Fairway as a pass-through alternative to Highway 111. There are a couple of items to note regarding placement of speed cushions. Cushions cannot be placed in front of driveways or in the middle of intersections. They also cannot be placed near fire hydrants. To be effective, the recommended distance is 260 to 500 feet apart. For reference, Fairway Drive is just over a mile long, so we could technically place somewhere between 4 and 10 speed cushions in each direction, rounded to whole numbers for simplicity. Final placement locations would be approved by a traffic engineer. And that's all I have on this subject. I'm available to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Councilmember Anderson.
There is a way to place the speed cushions, speed bumps, whatever we call them, in such a way that emergency vehicles will not be impeded, correct?
Yes. So it's a background picture here, but you can see in between the chevrons, that's actually space, the wheel space for the emergency vehicles, like fire engines.
So the fire trucks versus the paramedic vans, they have
2 different wheelbases. Yes. So
tire lengths.
we will, of course, work with the public safety teams, but we most often see the width chosen for the spacing being the fire trucks, because the ambulances typically have the same wheelbase as standard trucks that you may see on the road doing services.
Thank you. Well, go ahead. I'll go after you.
I'd like clarification on the record. What is it that we are trying to accomplish? I believe we are trying to accomplish people not going over 30 miles an hour.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct. Speed
Okay,
reduction.
That's the goal. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
All right, I want to make sure that in doing that we don't lower the speed limit to where people who are going 30 miles an hour have to slow down to 15 miles an hour to get over the speed bump. The speed bump has to be low enough so that 30 miles an hour, you're not affected at all. And it only would affect people that are going in excess of 30 miles an hour. And I presume that would require some sort of transportation engineer to design that. But that's very important because our residents use these streets all the time and they don't want to go 15 miles an hour to go over a speed bump if the speed limit is 30 miles an hour and they are complying with the speed limit.
So these particular types of speed cushions that you see in the picture are only for streets that are rated 35 and below. So it means that they are going to slow down just a little bit to go over the speed cushion. So if they're going 30, the reduction that's been clocked for how many ever times it's been used is about 20% in speed. So if they are going 30, they're going to slow down about 20% to get over the speed hump, or speed cushion, excuse me, and it's about 7 to 14 feet long. They'll slow down to go over it and speed back up after.
If it wasn't as tall, would they not have to go down? I mean,
Yes, they can vary in height. So there's 2 to 4 inch sizes.
But we ought to be, if the speed limit is 30 miles an hour and the goal is to keep people at 30 miles an hour, we ought to be able to go 30 miles an hour without the speed bump affecting their drive. That's.
Understood.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Grant.
So are these, what are we calling them?
Speed cushions.
Speed cushions.
Speed cushions.
These speed cushions gonna impede the golf cart lane and the bike lane?
Right now that we're not showing them there.
Okay.
We haven't designed it yet, but we're not looking at placing it there.
And just to be clear, this is doing the speed study with the tube sensors. This is all just, this isn't a permanent thing. We're actually doing a study to try to mitigate the speeding on Fairway Drive and Sealyto, correct?
I think we would like to reduce the speeding everywhere, but this particular study is only on Fairway.
So I think having the data for the summer and having the data for season is of most importance. You have to know the baseline of both to make any determination if you want to move forward to make this a permanent solution to the problem. So I'm in favor of doing the study, and as Mr. Lax has brought forth many times, we've really never done a study that shows the actual speeds of the vehicles traveling these streets. And I think that's going to be really important information for us to ascertain and have to move forward with this.
Understood.
Dr. Dillon, anything from you? Wait, the public comments for deliberation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Open the meeting of the public comments. We have any public?
Yes, we do. We have Joe Hammer, followed by Martin Leck.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Joe Hammer, 35 plus year resident of Indian Wells. I have a home on Sealyto Drive, and want you to know I watched you guys on TV the other night. Glad to see there's no sidewalks going to be on El Dorado. That makes me feel pretty good. So I'm here to speak today for a lot of my neighbors who have left for the summer. So let me start with this. I'm going to try to make this quick. I used to be on the board, homeowners association board at the Cove of Indian Wells before I moved to my current resident 19 years ago. So my big idea back then was to put speed bumps in the cove of Indian Wells, because there was people speeding around when I had little kids at the time, and I was worried about them getting hit. Well, what a mistake that was. We put these rubber ones in like you're talking about. Every time the gardeners hit the bumps with their trucks and their trailers, it just made all kinds of racket. And boy, did I get the calls. I mean, you guys are on these committees. The homeowners association is the most ungrateful, awful job you want to have. You get all the neighbors calling you. So long story short, that did not work out very well, and they were removed, at least before I left. I don't know if they're there or not now. I had a comment from a resident, and she asked me to let you know that she thinks that Fairway Drive is our relaxation route into Indian Wells. And she doesn't want speed bumps or flashing lights or that type of thing. As a resident, I'm concerned if you put the speed bumps on Fairway, and it's already happening. People are diverting to my street, Cielito, and Painted Desert. And believe me, if you're going to put speed bumps on Fairway, let's start thinking about putting them on those streets too, because they are speeding. And you see our neighbors, they put the signs out, children that play and so on, please slow down. So, and then I was asked to read this, if I can find it, and I don't have my glasses. In West LA, everyone knows Sunset is the thoroughfare. Fairway is our Sunset Boulevard. What we are doing is going to divert traffic from a known busy street to the interior streets. We're trading one person's misery for another's. We will then have to install more speed bumps for the streets to which traffic is diverted. This should be solved with enforcement of the speed limit, not speed bumps which are noisy and hard on your car. So I guess you're getting the drift here with 6 seconds left that I'm opposed to speed bumps on Fairway. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Don't think you need a lot of studies on this either. I think Brian and I know it's a whole lot busier on Fairway during the season than it is right now. And I walk it every single day, 10,000 steps. So, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment on this issue?
Yes, Martin Lack.
Hello again.
I'll go back, Martin.
Thank you. I don't know why this is even being considered. We just went through all these things with what you call safer streets. Residents over and over said, no bumps. Planning Commission, they said, no bumps. Even some of you commissioners commented about it. Speed cushions will create substantial noise, especially for trucks and service vehicles before and after the speed cushion. The rattling around of the pipes and whatever equipment you're going to see. During the public engagement process for street modifications, residents were encouraged to brainstorm about ideas, and that's being taken out of context. When this was proposed, the bumps, we residents rejected it. We were very much opposed to having bumps or cushions. The 2025 stop sign warrant study that we all just got now, it said field observations during our site visit confirmed vehicles were regularly driving at or below the speed limit. You're always going to have aberrations, but by and large, people drive the speed limit. This is completely unnecessary. Spending $109,000 is a complete waste of money. We don't need to do any experiments to test the effectiveness of speed cushions on traffic speeds along Fairway. It's completely unnecessary. And you're going to have a lot of people really pissed off when they come back. This is a July hearing and you're doing this. Are we back to what was going on in our city back in the mid-90s when you'd have summer actions to surprise us residents? You all are better than that. And staff could know better too.
Thank you, Mr. Lennox. Are there any other public comments, Ms. Clerk?
Yes. Glenn Schubert.
Mr. Schubert?
Good afternoon again, Council. Glenn Schubert, 8-year Indian Wells resident. I was the fortunate beneficiary of attending about 95% of the 22 meetings that we had for Safer Streets. One of the biggest, I'll go along with my fellow residents, one of the biggest comments that people had was noise. And as Mr. Lax pointed out, with the trailers going through, with all of the gardening equipment and everything on those, it is going to be untenable for the people that live on those streets. Because all you're going to hear is banging, banging, banging all day long. And that is not what the residents wanted. That's not what the residents said. And I think that this is a waste of $109,000 that we don't need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schubert. Are there any other public comments? Close the public meeting. Discussion.
I have a question of staff. What is my name of the committee step? This is the public safety issue, and this is the public safety committee.
It did not. The council asked for it to be agendized at your meeting.
At the proper time, we're going to make a motion that we send this to the public safety committee for consideration and report back to us after the summer, so that the residents will be affected, will have an opportunity to discuss.
Good. Any other discussion by council members? Mr. Vance?
Yeah. I would like to get the information for the summer and the season meeting. So we have numbers. I really don't think we have numbers. We can't sit here and go, well, here's July, here's August, here's November. We don't know. We've never done. So we're trying to tackle the problem here without the proper information. I do think with the reallocation of the officer moving from night to day is going to make a huge difference on Fairway Drive. So the solution to the problem may not be what's in front of us today, but we do need some more information to direct ourselves to mitigate this problem properly.
Okay. I do have a question. If we can go to the next slide. My question is what are we really testing here? Are we testing what speed bumps are going to be like, or are we just testing speed again?
They are pneumatic road tubes. They work by air, so they're able to calculate both speed and volume.
Okay,
So it counts and it takes speeding.
Okay, speed and volume, but we're not putting any speed cushions on the road to see how they work or what people think about them. We're actually just testing speed one more time.
So this would happen first.
Okay.
Before any cushions would go out.
It's a double yes.
Mr. Mayor, can we just break this into two parts?
Sure.
There's this part, which measures speed and volume.
Okay.
And then following that is the decision on whether or not speed bumps are warranted, and if they are, then whether or not to install them.
Right.
So could we get on with the measurement of speed and volume now? It'll take several months to collect the data, so to Tim Reed's point, it wants to that.
It's $109,000. Oh, that's the whole thing. Okay.
One moment.
I'm trying to.
Yeah. Can I speak, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Yes. Dina said that nothing's going to be ordered until that study's done. So they're not going to put $109,000 out there to order these speed.
So that's what they're asking.
I'm aware. What is speed study? How much is this speed study?
But what I'm saying is let's get that information to see if we even want to even do anything further. That's all I'm saying. And then we're not spending $109,000 and we're not going through this whole reimagine facade or trying to mitigate something that's, we just don't have the information to do.
Isn't that what Councilmember Sanders was just asking?
Yeah, yes.
But it seems to me we've done multiple speed studies. We had the POS study, we've had a speed study, and we've now had a stop sign study, all of which measure speed, correct?
There are speed measurements with cameras in those studies. This is the only time we've brought forth the tube study, which you can lay on different streets. So you get a wider view of what's going on other than just the one camera that's looking at just the one view. And someone, I'm sorry, I don't remember who asked me how much just for the study,
yes.
and it was $15,000.
$15,000.
Correct.
1.5.
1.5.
$15,000. Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we're ready.
Okay. I mean, Dr. Taylor, so I don't,
You know,
I'll do a speed study for free.
where. So I also just want to mention that there are three very articulate, very smart people who've come to the podium today and spoken on behalf of the neighborhood about the lack of desire to have speed bumps. I personally have gotten maybe 10 emails from local residents asking for speed bumps. And we immediately respond that our experience is the noise level for, janitorial service, gardening services, et cetera, is such that you aren't going to like the speed bumps. We recommend you don't pursue speed bumps. And at least that's my, without speaking of the other council, that would be my response. And their response back is, we would prefer speed bumps than, let's say, in putting in sidewalks. Okay. So I must say that you do have opinions, but there are other opinions that are out there as well. Just as a comment. The other thing, though, in relation to the correlation between speeding and fairways, safer streets, the idea of putting in sidewalks. I mean, I guess we have a speed problem as well, even with the sidewalks that could be going in. But the way we're building the sidewalks, I thought, was to be in a way that would encourage, slower speeds on the two key streets of Kroger and Fairway. Is that correct?
The sidewalk is actually just to remove the pedestrians from the vehicle area.
But then you have the bumps, or you have certain other elements of the sidewalk creation.
I think he's referring to a road diet.
Oh, the road diet part, yes.
Right.
The shrinking of the lanes.
Right. So, and that's preceding the design of those things, the measurements of those things, etc.
Correct.
Right. So, another thought would be to delay this conversation until we actually complete what we voted on to create, so that the speeds can be measured after construction of the sidewalks, so that we don't have a study that doesn't really apply to the newly designed sidewalks. So that would be something else for us to consider.
Yeah, and I will say that at the last meeting, it's my understanding that what we were going to do was going to put temporary speed cushions on a couple of the roads to see the public reaction as a test. I didn't know, this is the first time I've seen that we're doing another speed study in order to talk about speed cushions. If I look back at the minutes of that last meeting, I'm pretty sure what the council expected was a study of the actual speed cushion experience, not on another study of speed. Right? Am I right or wrong about that?
So if I could provide some historical context, at the council meeting, the direction was to look at installing temporary speed cushions along Fairway Drive.
Yeah.
and to see their effectiveness.
Mr. Mayor, can we please have people who are in the audience and who are speaking out? The acoustics in this room are extraordinarily good, and it just interrupts all of the discussion we're trying to have.
We can hear everything you're saying in words.
Right. So please, let us have this discussion and let the city manager inform us.
Thank you. And so by installing these temporary speed cushions, how do you evaluate them to see their effectiveness? That's what Dina has presented is you do a study of speed and volume on streets prior to installation. You install them and see if the speed and volume changes after installation. Now, it's not just Fairway, because now that those temporary speed cushions have been installed in Fairway, do people avoid Fairway and use Cook? Do they use Rancho Palmera? Do they use Ciolito? So the study portion of to see if they're effective is the speed and volume study.
But we didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for all of the other. We just asked to see whether the temporary speed bumps.
But you asked for the effectiveness of them.
Yeah,
This is how that's determined.
this is how that's done. Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if we did the speed study, let's say without the bumps, would there be a result that could impact the construction of sidewalks on Fairway or Cook?
Would the results of capturing the speeding data? No.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, unless you want to make the motion, go ahead. All right. Okay. I move that we proceed with the speed and volume study now. Once that speed and volume study is completed, that it be reported back to the city council in tandem with the decision on whether or not to proceed with the speed bumps. And I would anticipate that that would occur sometime in the fall.
So you're basically saying you're moving $15,000 to clear.
Is there a second?
Well, second.
Maybe an alternate motion. Okay. Do you second it?
Sure.
Do you have an alternate motion or no? You just saying?
No, but this second.
That's what you know, that was
Okay.
$1,000.
Okay.
This is fine.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, well, let's have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
No. The motion passes 3-2. Okay. Does anybody want, I mean, I know we don't have much left here, but I think we're done. You have a vote? Does anybody want to take 5? Let's take 5. Okay.
Still got me.
Right here. Rub again.
Wait, turn it on.
All right, we have reached I3, stop sign warrant study. Recommended action. Council receives and files the finding of the stop warrant studies conducted as part of the Safer Streets community discussions. Dina, do we have a staff report?
Yes, sir.
The staff presentation, I should say.
Also, good afternoon again, Mayor, council members, residents. Still Dina Purvis. The second of my 2 presentations today is a review of the findings of the now finalized stop warrant studies. Stop warrant studies consist of 4 main topics that are analyzed by a traffic engineering professional. They are need for signalization, reported crashes, volumes and speeds, and the combination of all of them if the rate of occurrence exceeds 80%. If after this analysis of the data, the guidance topics aren't met, the stop sign is deemed unwarranted. The State of California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices provides a set of standards and guidelines for traffic control devices. The California METCD emphasizes that the application of traffic control devices should be based either on an engineering study or the application of engineering judgment. While an engineering study involves collecting data and analyzing a specific situation, engineering judgment is the process of interpreting that data and applying relevant California UTCD provisions and other applicable codes to reach a decision. Oh. As requested by the council, staff asked the consultant traffic engineer to revisit their findings with the consideration of community desire as part of their recommendation. Staff also queried an additional traffic engineer unrelated to the project about whether or not they would recommend a stop sign that was unwarranted. In both cases, the answer was no. Staff is asking today for council to receive and file this study, and I am available for any questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions before we open the public comments? Anybody considering that? Okay. Open the public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, we have one, Martin Black.
Ed? This is your answer.
I really don't want to be here. I really want to tell you that. I'm tired of being here, and I just wish I wasn't. But here I am. She said volume and speed. You all heard her. Volume and speed. It's been studied. We've had a 2022 speed study. Then we had the LOS study, and now we have this study. And what makes me really angry about this is that it was given to us 3 days ago. You needed this before. We needed this before. They had it before. This is bad. This now raises an issue of trust. And I don't like saying that. All right. Stop warrant is quite strange in its presentation. It's in 2 PDF files. One called El Dorado, one called Cook. There's 7 volume reports in each. But we're told that there are 17 intersections were studied. I couldn't find the other 3. Maybe I missed it, but I don't think so. So where is it? Now, my Freedom of Information Act request has not been complied with, which makes this even more troublesome. And I would like to investigate this more. It should have been provided to you, this report, before the last hearing where we did the street design stuff. And in fact, it should have been given to you before your last, or we should have really got into it more before the last decision on the speed that you just made. From the partial disclosure, here's what we know for El Dorado. In regards to pedestrian and bicycle activity, field observations during our morning weekday site visit confirmed a low activity of both. It's low pedestrian, low bikes. Low. Now, and I've said this 3 times maybe today, I'm going to say it again. Field observations during our site visit confirmed vehicles were regularly driving at or below the posted speed near the intersection and were considered typical of what may be expected for the road. I'm disappointed that this study is being filed and put away. It should have been front and center for discussion and understanding. We don't have a speed problem. Yes, there's going to be speeders. We're always going to have speeders. You know, it's like saying there's no crime in the city. There's always some crime. But it's not going to be perfect. We're going to have speeders. And I don't like it. I really don't. I think maybe some of the things we're doing on Fairway might help. I'm hoping it will. I'm very empathetic to that, for sure. And all of us need to understand that this really affects our lifestyle and the quality of life that we've come to enjoy in the city. We want our tranquility, we want peace and quiet, we want our safety. But high stuff is not acceptable. Have I been for? Thank you.
Any comments? Are there any other public comments? Okay, we're gonna close the hearing, and now it is time for council deliberations and attendance. Buddy, what? Or have any other comments? Anybody?
What we're being asked to do is just receive and file, right?
That is correct.
Oh, no. But move, receive and file. Second motion.
Okay, any discussion?
My mic was not on. Second motion.
Any discussion? I do have a little discussion on this, because I do think that we should receive and file it. I'm not against that. I mean, that's obviously appropriate, and it's also in accord with our municipal code, is to receive and file an engineering study. The interesting thing about this situation with stop signs is that we actually have a municipal code section that's a roadmap of what we're supposed to do with respect to stop signs in the city. And the section is 11.16.030, and it's entitled Stop Signs. And what it says is the city council may designate any local street intersection as a stop intersection and direct the placement of stop signs at one or more entrances hereto in the manner provided herein. And then the next section says that we have to make findings, and we have to make one or both of the following findings: that the stop sign is necessary to facilitate the flow of traffic, one, and or to prevent traffic conflict, whatever that means. And we have to pass a resolution in order to have stop signs. The other thing we have to do is we have to receive a report of a traffic engineer, and that's what we're going to do right now. But that's not really the end of the story for City Council, and the unfortunate thing, and I think Mr. Lax has pointed this out, is we didn't have the opportunity to discuss whether council wanted to have any stop signs as part of the Safer Streets project, knowing what the engineering study said and what council may feel is a reason beyond an engineering reason to have a stop sign at a certain intersection. We have heard time and time again from residents of the Cove that they want not only a sidewalk, but they also want a stop sign at their intersection where across the street is the New Province, where there's, what I believe, 172 new homes and a new ingress and egress on Cook. And I think this is our responsibility as a council, is to discuss this. And we never really had an opportunity. And so I feel like, yes, we should receive and file the traffic study. But I think we should also, at a future meeting, and I will make that motion, we should have an opportunity at the next meeting to discuss stop signs and all of the data that we've collected over 22 meetings and studies and so on, to decide whether we as a council, which is what our statute says we're supposed to do, decide whether we feel that a stop sign should be placed on a designated intersection, regardless of what not regardless, but beyond what a traffic engineer might opine based upon engineering standards. We have a greater responsibility than simply engineering standards. And I don't think we've accomplished that responsibility that we have. So I'm asking, as part of this, receive and file, that we bring it back in the September meeting for a discussion after we review. I mean, I agree. I haven't reviewed in detail this study, the traffic engineering study. I've seen a draft at a meeting a week ago, and was told I couldn't have a copy of it. I was only allowed to read it in the office and not bring it home and look at it. So I've never had a chance to read it completely. And so that's my amendment to this motion to receive and file, that we bring it back at the September meeting for further discussion of council. Maybe we don't want a stop sign. Maybe there's no need for stop signs. I understand. Maybe our council doesn't want any stop signs, but I do think it's worthy of a discussion. Just like,
Would you be willing to bifurcate the motion and let's Stephen file this and then you make a separate motion for an agendized item in the future?
Sure.
Willing to do that?
yes.
Okay, I believe I moved that we proceed with file.
Second, I seconded the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. The motion passes 5-0. Okay, I will make a motion that we bring this matter to the September meeting for a further review of the engineering study and discussion of council on stop signs in the city as part of the, I guess it's part of the Safer Streets.
So in other words, there'll be a presentation on the file that we just.
Presentation on the file and discussion amongst council on other factors as well as just the engineering study.
May I ask for clarification purposes, would you want that staff report and presentation to include just the intersections that were within the studies? Or would you want to look at all unsignalized intersections?
Well, were there 17 intersections in the studies?
Yes.
That seems like an awful lot of intersections. So there are 17 intersections on the 4 streets
That are unsignalized, yes.
that are unsignalized.
Meaning they don't have any control at all. So no stop. We looked at the ones with no stop signs and no signals.
Well, yes, I guess we should. I don't know what kind of a burden that places, but the only ones that I've heard a lot of input from the community are on Cook and on El Dorado.
Or where?
Cook and El Dorado. Those two streets.
There is no Cook in El Dorado.
No, I mean Cook Street and El Dorado Street for stop sign at either one of those, not at the intersection of those, but the intersections on those.
All right, you want this in September. This is obviously something that residents in that area are going to be very, very, very concerned about. If we have to stop 6 times to get to our houses. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to postpone it until later when we have more residents, including our part-time residents who will be affected by multiple stop signs, which September is like, we're meeting like the day after Labor Day or something. I mean, hopefully it's going to be a very quick meeting because there won't be anybody here.
I mean, I don't know how it interferes with Safer Streets to go longer. I mean, I don't care. We can do it in October, November. It doesn't matter to me. Just so we do it.
And so what are we doing?
We are going to get a report on the engineering report on stop signs and have a discussion with council about any other factors.
Presumably make a decision.
And presumably make a decision, yeah.
I believe September is way too early to do something to do that.
So do you want to amend my motion? We haven't got a second yet, for one thing. Does anybody want?
The only thing I just want to remind you of is we did have a discussion about a stop sign on Fairway. And the matter was put aside because the city's insurance will not cover stop signs that are not approved by the engineering plans. And therefore, if there's an accident at a intersection where there is a stop sign not approved by the engineers, the liability will be on the city. So we can put stop signs everywhere, but there will be great liability placed on the city.
Okay.
And that's why we tabled that.
Okay, so in the meantime, I've been doing some research along with the city, and what we were told in that regard is not actually accurate. The reality is that that's a coverage issue. And we were erroneously told that the insurance, that our JPIA would not cover that, and we don't know that to be a fact. Isn't that true? And maybe that's one thing we ought to get a legal opinion on coverage. Because if that's the important issue, we should know.
So the city has had correspondence with the California Joint Powers Insurance Authority. Initial discussions that we shared with you at the last meeting was no coverage. It's because, based on the comment that they've made, is they strongly oppose, they have concerns about it, they would encourage cities not to do it. When pressed on the matter, they said that perhaps there is coverage, we go fine. But again, it's a determination that we probably would need to get clarification from, especially if there's documentation from a traffic engineer that is not warranted. That's the concern you're going to have with the JPIA, is that provision.
So I've reviewed the insurance contract, the JPIA contract. There is no exclusion in that contract for coverage if a city chooses to have a stop sign without a traffic study. There's no exclusion in the contract. And we can all disagree on a lot of things, but the contract doesn't say that it's excluded. And so I don't know who's interpreting that contract at JPIA. I don't know if it's the legal staff. I don't know if it's a claims adjuster. Insurance companies often say that something's not covered when it turns out it is. So I don't think that should be a bar to us discussing it unless we get unless we do get an opinion or something from our legal counsel in that regard. And that's one of the things that I think we should bring back.
So can we ask the carrier to brief this? And then if we're going to talk about stop signs, July is not the month to talk about it. This definitely has to get pushed out. There are a lot of residents that are here. There's a lot of part-time residents that aren't here. And for us to contemplate changing what we just voted on for safe streets, it really needs to be in front of the entirety of our community. So I move that we get a briefing from the insurance company that if there's even coverage available, if the council wants to put any kind of stop sign in, and this shouldn't be heard until the residents return.
Well, I've already made a motion. Is that a substitute motion?
Substitute that. Substitute to it.
Okay. Go ahead, Dina.
Well, it hasn't been seconded yet, so.
So I must say I'm a little confused. Are we just looking to discuss stop signs, or do you have a specific stop sign you'd like to put in? I believe Mr. Lax was referring to the fact that we made decisions about sidewalks without necessarily having the data in front of us that showed that the streets are safe, that people drive slowly, that there's not that much traffic, and therefore that should guide us in our decision making, not just with regard to stop signs, but sidewalks and various other elements in our roads. However, I know this has been an issue that has been a concern to you, especially our insurance coverage. But I'm just trying to understand, is this your desire to put stop signs where there aren't right now, or just have a discussion in general about our ability to put stop signs with or without insurance?
Well, no, I mean, I think that I would like to have a discussion in council as to whether or not, look, let me just say this. If you just relied on the data, as Mr. Lack said, we wouldn't have needed any of the Safer Streets project at all. We could have just repaved it and put it in lines. Because there's no data.
That would be his preference.
Well, he's telling us data. But there are other reasons to have safer streets. Because, other than the actual speed data and including the engineering data on the stop signs. And I do think that we ought to have an opportunity, as we deal with all of the other issues on safer streets, to discuss whether or not we as a council believe that there are intersections where it would be safer to have stop signs.
Is this in lieu of speed bumps, or are we gonna have speed bumps and stop signs?
And
I mean, it's gonna take us a half hour just to get home. I mean, good grief.
Yeah. Let me I'll just weigh in with my personal opinion. I think it's dangerous for the city council to deviate from a standard that has been prescribed by the state and which is designed to determine whether or not a stop sign should be placed at a particular intersection. We are not traffic engineer experts. Sure, we have the authority, if we want to put a stop sign at every intersection in the city. So it boils down to a liability issue. I think before we do anything, before we put it on the agenda for future discussion, we ought to get to the bottom of the liability issue. Is there, in fact, liability that accrues to the city as a result of overriding a traffic warrant study?
So, nobody's seconded any of the motions yet, so.
What the liability is $2 and cents. I'm worried about people getting injured. I'm worried about people thinking, okay, there's a stop sign, so I can cross, because that car's gonna stop. Well, that car may not stop, in which case I've just now been run over. I don't care, I'm dead, I don't care who's gonna pay or not pay.
That's the
And that's the reason why the state has the rules that you don't put stop signs in the middle of nowhere because it's not safe, it's unsafe.
That's exactly right.
So we
and
should.
that's why liability accrues to the city.
Well, I'm dead, I don't care about the money, I don't wanna die.
So your argument is that we should not have any stop signs anywhere.
Oh, no, I'm saying we should follow the state law, which is you put in the stop signs where there is a legitimate public safety reason and no other place.
That's exactly what I said.
Right.
I spoke English, you were speaking legalese.
But the difference is we do have a municipal code section.
Oh,
It says-
okay, but we don't have. Never mind. It's 4:30, Mr. Mayor, come on.
Well, somebody's gotta make a motion.
No, nobody has to make a motion.
We can move on.
We can move on. We received and filed and we can move on.
Well, I make a motion, so.
It wasn't second.
Well, I don't think anybody ever had an opportunity to second it because I popped it into two amended motions. My motion is that we bring it back in a future meeting to discuss the issue of whether we need any stop signs in the city under the Safer Streets provision after we get a chance to look at the engineering study and other factors. That's my motion. Any second? Second.
I move we receive and file.
I already did that, it's already passed $5.
I got lost.
Grandpa. That was a half hour.
That's right.
Okay. So, let's see. Council member reports. You're up first. Everyone, council discussion of a future agenda item relating to council member reimbursement policy. Next, council considers whether to post a discussion and action item on a future agenda regarding the city council member reimbursement policy. Is there anybody who wants to discuss this or make a motion on this? Or tell us what it is?
Who put this on the agenda? Somebody's put it on the agenda. Who did?
You're gonna take that?
Yes.
Yeah, so, we did receive, the city clerk, so we did receive a request, to have this item placed on the agenda. Councilmember Peel had made this request, so we are just asking the council, regarding the reimbursement policy. So our goal currently right now is to really explore to either develop a policy, to improve efficiency and flexibility. So, while staying in with state law and our city charter. So under our city charter currently, we are required to bring back any reimbursement, incurred by our council members to get pre-approved. Annually, we do approve a large list of activities that you guys all do participate. However, anything past that, we are required to bring back under consent items, for your approval and consideration. So we are wanting to see if there's any interest and deferring this to either the Finance or Governance Committee to develop a policy regarding reimbursement expenses for council without having to come back for pre-approval each time.
Mr. Mayor, let me suggest that this just be referred to the Finance Committee.
Well, let me ask you a question. Don't we have a reimbursement policy now?
Under the council policy, we have one, but it's only for pre-approved advance for the city council. So those are the items that you've been seeing throughout the year. So in the event that you would like to participate in, I am required to bring back a staff report for pre-approval of such expenses, but we are looking at a broader view, such as, meals, travel, anything like that, yeah.
There's no mechanism currently to get reimbursed.
Oh, I didn't know we were allowed it.
We just having, we're trying to clarify the mechanism and the methodology so that we're all within code and rule. I would refer this to the Finance Committee and our council to apply to creating some language that would allow us to conduct city business and receive appropriate reimbursement.
Is that a motion? Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5 to 0. Review and of the purpose and function of the Indian Wells Golf Resort Advisory Committee. Again, this is Dr. Taylor's.
It is real quick.
There's staff report on that.
Real quick, staff report, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, Dr. Taylor asked to have this item agendized to discuss the purpose and functions of the Indian Wells Golf Resort Advisory Committee, which in 2024, the City Council adopted a resolution that was put forth by an ad hoc committee, then Councilmember Greg Hood and Mayor Whitman in 2024 to provide language on the purpose of that committee. Since that time, there's been some discussion that there may be some gray areas of that policy, and so the idea is to get the council direction to bring this back at a future meeting, if you guys wish to do so, if you think that there's any language changes needed. Thank you.
So we would need to have another resolution because we have a resolution on this.
That is a correction.
So I think that this could be another simple item because we had to agendize it for any action taken that we could so move that council reviews the language for the resolution to clarify the discussion of items at the golf committee that may have broad financial impact, but which are not included in the annual budget for Troon or for the golf resort. Specifically, as we've discussed, and
Is that a motion?
yes,
Second. Under discussion by council, you mean legal counsel?
legal counsel. Because the bottom line is the committee is often asked to opine on matters such as white sand versus brown sand. And the first question that all committee members who are responsible and care ask is, how much more does that cost? Another item may be tee boxes or benches. The first item that any reasonable human being on a committee would ask is, how much do those cost? And yet, in the way the resolution is written, it could be interpreted that those discussions are not to be had at the golf committee level. And so, no one wants to know the price of flour inside Kestrel, and nobody wants to know the price of golf balls inside the wholesale price that Troon gets inside the golf shop. This is simply a matter of clarification that the golf committee is enabled to have, reasonable conversations around requests that involve some small financial impact outside the approved budget.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Before the vote,
Which
Mayor,
is
if I may,
clarify
could we clarify the motion, please?
The resolution is simply to have you propose some language that would clarify the resolution so the golf committee would be enabled to have the conversations that I've just kind of referenced and exclude any conversations that impact the actual true budget or the true contract.
So the motion would be for legal counsel to propose language that would put a finer point on what's allowed in terms of finances and what's not.
an amended resolution.
I'll probably tee up some options because I don't have council direction to go one way or the other.
Would you like council direction?
I think that's probably the subject of a future discussion, but I'll give you options.
Can I make an amendment to that? And I have no problem with what you're proposing, except I don't think that the Golf Resort Advisory Committee should have the ability to discuss resident greens fees or any other resident amenities, because that is in the sole province of the city council. The Golf Advisory Committee has hotel general managers. They have Visit Greater Palm Springs. Troon has 4 or 5 representatives at every meeting, and I know it was talked about before to send the issue or review of resident golf rates, other resident amenities to the Golf Advisory Committee for its recommendation. So yes, I mean I would be in favor, but to exclude any interpretation of the resolution to include any resident amenities.
That doesn't work for me because there are only 2 people on the council that play golf. And were there to be a description or a discussion around anything from a $14 million redesign of the golf course, this council sought golf committee, input on their decision making as to whether it was a good idea to hire John Fox, it was a good idea to, reconstruct the golf course at a $14 million level. And the golf committee has no ability to enact a change in residence fees. You're right, that's part of the committee. That's the purview of the council. But from a committee perspective, it's completely reasonable for the residents and the people who serve on that committee to opine on such important issues as resident amenities for us to ultimately make the decision. So it's literally just a means by which to engage in a healthy, reasonable financial conversation.
And we're not approving it today, we're just asking for language for it.
Well, we could do one of 2 things. The council has shared that he doesn't have direction, so he could come back to the table and we could look at 2 or 3 different things and vote on which one we're comfortable with, or he could receive direction from us today that is consistent for all of us to say, yes, go write something that looks like this. Bruce is suggesting an amendment. I'm not.
Well, or he could say that the resolution is clear in 2024, it's not ambiguous and it doesn't need to be explained, and move on with that. I mean, is that appropriate too?
So that's not what's on the table, because even as the last committee meeting you attended with me a month ago, you bothered me when I asked them about the cost of the night and said that's not appropriate. And it is appropriate, then that clarification of the greatness of the language to me needs to be established.
Well, okay, so first we need to say whether the language is gray, I think. And then if it is ambiguous and gray, then we can look at it. But if it's not ambiguous and it's not gray, then I think we need a new resolution with new rules. And, it's not against it. I'm just saying that you can't just say we want to interpret a resolution the way you want to interpret it, and I read it one way, you read it another. Smart people in this room.
Hence the clarification.
So if I, Mayor and Council, if I may restate it, the motion would be for legal counsel to evaluate the existing language and propose some language to further define it, or give the council the option of allowing some discussion of finances without delving into, as the phrase is right now, the financial performance of the golf resort. I think that's probably focused on the internal finances of the golf resort. We can certainly do that. We'll bring that back.
And maybe the answer to make you comfortable would be as directed by City Council. Or as directed by City Council. In other words, the City Council said, what's your opinion on a $8 million redo of the celebrity course? Then we can get their opinion. Because I don't think it's unreasonable to get the golf committee's opinion on a redo of the celebrity course.
I agree, right? But I don't think we want to have people that have opposing interests, like the hotels and Troon, to our resident amenities, because it's a financial matter. Yes, sir.
I call the question.
Okay.
Moved and seconded. I call the question. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sanders,
Yes.
Councilmember Penna,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Whitman.
No.
Thank you.
All right. J3, the history of the tea committee. Recommended action, council receives and files this informational report on the history of the tea committee and finds the action is not a project under C1. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. This item is really just a receive and file because it's just giving the history of the Tea Committee that the Mayor Whitman asked to have agendized. Real quickly, in 1985, the two hotel partners, now known as Renaissance and Grand Hyatt, partnered with the city for the development of the Indian Wells Golf Resort. In that was the exchange of land and uses through a 1985 easement agreement with those owners. Part of the golf course that you know today, hole 18, the sluggery, for factual knowledge, is actually on Hyatt property, it's subject to this easement agreement, as well as former 18th hole, the players course. But also the golf resort building itself, the clubhouse, the parking lot, and other areas. And so that was the reason that they had this easement agreement, was to have the discussion and for the joint use of those properties. Within that easement agreement is a formation of a committee that would hear issues for the formation of the golf resort, as well as various components within the easement agreement of mutual interest. Everything from shared use of facilities, shared use of the tee sheet, and certain guarantees of the two hotel partners. It seems that the Tea Committee over the years was very active initially when the golf course was first formed, but then about the same time that the Indian Wells Golf Resort Advisory Committee Advisory Committee was formed, the Tea Committee kind of drifted off. In the current easement agreement, it asked this Tea Committee to meet on a quarterly basis, which has not occurred in at least a decade from what we can find in records. But in preparation for today's council meeting, I met with both the general managers of the two hotels, and neither of them were familiar with the Tea Committee as well. And so part of the discussions I have with them is they right now feel they have an excellent relationship with the city. They don't think we need to be quarterly unless the council really wishes to do so. They would suggest that perhaps in the future we just do it on an annual basis or an as-needed basis if anything comes up. And it'd be within the subject matter of the committee, which was as part of your staff report. And that is a very brief report. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
As a member of the Tea Committee, I move adoption. Second motion.
And that's a receive and file. Okay, so let me.
No.
It is.
It's a receive and file.
So receive and file. I stand corrected. We understood this.
So my discussion, I just asked, everybody makes a joke of the Tea Committee, the mayor and the mayor pro tem have the Tea Committee, and then we never have anything to discuss about the Tea Committee. And so I thought, let's find out what is the Tea Committee all about, and does it serve a purpose? And as it turns out, there's a history of it, and it may serve a purpose, but if it doesn't serve a purpose, I would recommend that we just remove it from our committees and just move ahead. But if it does serve a purpose, let's utilize it and see what, it's the mayor and the mayor pro tem and the two hotels. I don't know if that's an appropriate committee to handle.
I felt the same way about you, that this seems redundant. However, because it's written into the what do you call it?
Easement
agreement, it has to exist. Because the two individual general managers of the hotels want it to exist as of the last week. That's his point.
Technically, Mayor, that's correct. It's embedded, its existence is created by the easement agreement as long as we have the easement agreement. And in fact, that will exist. But use it or don't, as it hasn't been for quite a decade, I think. That's another question. And it sounds like people are content to let it meet infrequently.
I mean, it serves a purpose according to the report that the city manager did, but I don't know if the purpose is important or not, but I think I'm in favor of receiving and filing a report. So, we have a motion, and we have a second, so, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Council member comments. Council member Sanders. Nothing to report. Council member Pat.
Okay, I do have something, the City Hall Preservation Foundation has brought forward a plan to name 4 areas in the unceded portion of the city. It's going to be on the September agenda, and with doing that, they're just giving recognition to the neighborhoods that were established prior to the city's incorporation in 1967. There's 4 of them. You have Rancho Palmeras Estates, Nicholas Village, Eldorado Palms, and Desert River Estates. And we'll have that discussion in September. Basically what it is they want to put a rider on the street signs within the neighborhood, just to give recognition of the neighborhoods. It's not a historical designation. It's not for a parade or for people to drive through and look at homes. It's just to give some history. And we do have a 60-year anniversary coming up. So it kind of coincides with that well to have some recognition of the past and how we got to where we are in the present. Cool. And that's all I have.
Council member Taylor.
There are a number of items, let's see. So on the homelessness committee, we've now heard from 2 outstanding organizations in our valley that are efficient in the way they spend their resources and effective. We're also being asked by the CDAG Homeless Committee to increase the fees going to the homelessness committee. I had a direct conversation with Tom Kirk about how he felt if instead of CDAG handling some 50 people a year, whether the resources that were collected by CDAG Homelessness Committee could be reallocated to organizations we met with today. He was open to the idea, but felt that the committee members were not, and that there would be a majority that still would want to continue with the CDAG handling a niche, I'll call it, homelessness in our communities, and that it does serve a niche purpose. And he would argue that it's not as broad, it's not as big a budget, it's not as as accomplished as the 2 sites we met with today, but it does serve a purpose. So sharing this with you because I know soon we will be asked to invest, and though we may have a different opinion on whether CDAG should or shouldn't. I believe that our brother and sister cities will continue to support CDAG's homeless committee. On the public safety side, there was much discussion around the terrorist attack in Palm Springs and ensuing discussion about potentially setting up emergency operation communications in a more effective way. And those discussions are ongoing. The Indian Wells Golf Resort Advisory Committee reported that we had a new general manager at Kestrel. He is, from what I observed and have seen, far more accomplished and adept at his role than anyone in his previous position at Kestrel. He's a very, very solid guy. If you haven't met him yet, long-standing success in the restaurant management space, so I wish him well. Also, the golf resort redo is on time and on budget. They're beginning to plant grass, which is quite exciting, and we anticipate, of course, opening on time. The other interesting data point about the Indian Wells Golf Resort is that with one golf course up and running, we are seeing the same level of golf as we would if there were two courses up and running, which shows the commitment to golf in our area, but it also shows the opportunity for growth next year when we have two courses that are open. Perhaps we can increase the number of people actually playing golf during this summertime. There's been great feedback and even articles in television, stories written about the new water misters on the golf courses, which are proving to be very effective. And if you haven't done so, it reduces the temperature in the cart by 25 to 30 degrees, and is a really nice addition to what they're doing over there. The Riverside County Transportation Commission approved their $1.2 billion budget, and we attempted to get the Coachella Valley included in the study on adding a fast track lane on the 10 freeway as an extension of their study, which was approved, which goes to basically the 111 and the 10 and east, Beaumont included, but we were unsuccessful, so it can be added later. The Southern California Association of Governments was in Washington, D.C. There's a new word that I heard about, which is Caliphobia. There's a fear in Washington, D.C. of giving money to the state of California while our governor and the President of the United States are armed pursuit. Sunlight Transit, I filled in for Mayor Whitman. They approved their annual budget. And there was some $55 million that was in question based on the California state budget status. And within about an hour of our annual meeting approving the budget, 35 to 40 million of that seemed to come back into the budget, and so Sunlight breathed their deep sigh of relief, and I don't think any of their services will be impacted based on the current status of the government at this time. Would this be an appropriate time to potentially make a motion to add language as per our first speaker this morning about the Brown Act into our policies? We do it anyways as a matter of due course, but should we add it to them? I would like to make a motion to add the language efficient to this.
I don't know if that's a joint, you know.
Are you suggesting I put it on the future agenda?
Okay,
So we can just instruct staff. I mean, that,
Instruct staff.
yeah.
okay, instruct staff to
Put the language in.
put the language. Okay, and then that's great.
And if you need our approval, put it on a consent calendar for a future meeting.
And then we also have a request to fix the files. I too have been frustrated by trying to look up files online, of historic files. They're not accurately named, nor are they accurately timestamped. And it's been really hard to try and understand the history of some of this council's fine work. So
We did that on purpose.
I'm sure you did. Of all the people, I'm sure you did. So is it possible to instruct staff to take a look at that, please?
We certainly can, but do you recall, we have suspended the refresh of our website in order to.
No, I'm just talking about files.
Files, finding files, it's part of the Legion of Fish, I'm sure we can look at it.
That's just about my
We
website.
suspended our website for what reason?
We suspended doing any remodeling
Our
or
website is not the issue.
You're talking about the being able to find files?
I'm talking about the naming of files and the stamping of files.
So we'll look into that, because I haven't had any issue, but we'll double check that.
All right, please.
Well, why did we suspend our review of our website?
The council gave direction for the brand.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
That's the end of my.
Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
Nothing to report.
I was out with, knee replacement surgery for a month. I don't have anything to report, other than, then I did attend one meeting for Mr. Petta, the Community Activities Committee meeting, and, because, you know, they have a lot of great ideas, and we're going to continue with their fine work and with the budget that they have, and they had an increased budget of $25,000 for the next fiscal year, over and above what they have, and they have a lot of great ideas of what to do with it. So, with that, unless there's further stuff by staff or council, we will adjourn to a regularly scheduled meeting of the city council to be held at 1:30 p.m. on September 4th, 2025, in the City Hall Council chamber. Adjourn.